An eye-opening and honest analysis of Islam by author, ex-Muslim and atheist Haris Sultan. He explores the reasons why he left Islam, how he almost became a jihadist and waged jihad on India, presents a critical analysis of religion, and reviews misconceptions about Islam that most Muslims and non-Muslims have. Emphasizing the importance of critical sense and invoking critical thinking when looking at the world around us, Sultan covers arguments for and against God's existence. He discusses God's importance in keeping morality and mental well-being, as well as the baggage that comes with religion, leaving our lives on earth without pleasure or enjoyment. There are scientific flaws in the Quran, and it doesn't seem to be written by the creator of billions of galaxies. Sultan dissects the rise of Islamism's popularity in the West and warns against its dangers, educating readers on how to debate with a religious apologist. Open your eyes with this fascinating look into Islam from an ex-Muslim's point of view.
All right, folks, this is Haris Sultan, the ex-Muslim atheist, and welcome to another episode of Sultan's House of Sin. Right, okay. I've got loads and loads of things to talk about today. A lot has happened, obviously, since my last Urdu stream, which was a couple of days ago. And there will always be a bit of that overlap where I say something today which is new, but then I have to wait another 5 days for my Urdu stream to start, and then, then I'll have to discuss that. But by that time, a lot of people would have lost interest. So I don't know how to manage this. Maybe I should have both Urdu and English one on the same day, but no, that doesn't make sense either because people are already sick of seeing my face. Okay, so the biggest news that's going around at the moment are riots in Sweden. So before I go into it, before I react to it, have a look at this little news story.
Violence broke out in the Swedish city of Malmö on Friday after members of a far-right Danish party burnt a copy of the Quran. Earlier on Friday, the leader of the far-right Danish anti-immigration party, Hardline, Rasmus Paludan, was arrested near Malmö and banned from Sweden for 2 years before he could make it to a planned event in the city. An enraged Malmö tweeted that he was sent back and banned from Sweden for 2 years. However, rapists and murderers are always welcome. The rally went on anyway with Rasmus Paludan's supporters, during which a copy of the Islamic holy book was burnt. 3 arrests have been made in connection with the incident. At least 300 protesters then hit the streets, clashed with police, throwing stones at law enforcement personnel and burnt tires. The authorities stopped Paludan as they believed his behavior would pose a threat to society. The politician is a controversial figure known for his vitriolic speech and provocative remarks. He has faced the law several times for racism and hate speech. Rasmus Paludan was first noticed for making anti-Muslim content on his social media.
All right, well, in a hurry, that's the only news story that I could find, but I'm sure there are other news outlets that are talking about that too. It's happening over and over again when we see that it's so easy, the soft belly. The far right-wing activists have found the soft belly of Muslims, so to speak. And I think in these rioters, there were like 300 rioters max. Some people have quoted 300, some people have said 100. So let's just say maybe 300 or 400 rioters in Sweden that came out protesting. And then they started attacking the police, burnt cars and burnt cities, burnt the whole city. Well, not the whole city, burnt a few buildings down. We noticed a similar behavior in India, in Bangalore, a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, where a Muslim. Now, again, when I say a Muslim, obviously I'm not saying that all Muslims are like that. And that's why I pointed out there were 300 people. But again, I'm not going to be snowflake either, but say, oh, no, Muslims are not like that. Or you get my point. When a Muslim made cartoons of a Hindu deity called Durga Ma, for some reason I've noticed Hindus react on Durga Ma more aggressively than they react on other deities, for instance. But it was a sexualized image. again, I don't care about that. And I think maybe 50 years ago, Hindus would not have cared about it as much either, 20 years ago. But now they are also becoming Islamized in a sense that, okay, well, you make fun of our Hindu goddesses, but when we say anything, even we don't make fun, we just criticize Islam, you just burn our cities down. So anyway, so there was a Muslim guy who made fun of a Hindu goddess. In a response, a Hindu responded with a cartoon of Muhammad sitting with a girl, a man sitting with a girl on his lap, and portraying somehow that this is a 52-year-old Muhammad and 9-year-old Aisha. And then we all know what happened. And they only showed that little bit where that Hindu had reacted that way. And then, I don't know, however many buildings were burned, the city was turned upside down, and a few people died as well. And now this right-wing activist, he burnt the Quran. And before that, something else had been happening as well on just on Twitter, where between Muhammad Hijab, Apostate Prophet, David Wood, etc., where Muhammad Hijab had been attacking again. Muhammad Hijab had been attacking the wives of these Islam critics, calling them Islamophobes, whores, and all kinds of drawing sexual imagery. And then Apostate Prophet and David Wood reacted by eating the Quran. And that also, there was a Twitter meltdown for a couple of days, and Muhammad Hijab ended up backing down and is like, okay, all right, this is not Islam. This is not what Islam teaches us, even though he had quoted an incident where Muhammad's first caliph, Abu Bakr, had told one of his opponents to go and suck the clitoris of Alat, which was a goddess at that time, a deity at that time of the pagan Arabs. And he was saying that, okay, it's okay for us to curse the mothers and family members or loved ones of people. But he backed away from it. He said, no, that's not going to happen. But then a lot of us ex-Muslims, I found there was a solid consistency on that fact that, okay, it's okay. It's not as bad. We know that this is a soft belly. We know this is provocation. This is triggering them. But this is, again, by our worldview, it's no big deal. You can burn my book. You can burn the Bible. You can burn Manusmriti, you can do whatever you want. The rest of the people don't act that way, but Muslims do react in a certain way. So we know that. So this right-wing activist, he did that on purpose. He did that to provoke them. Again, if these mindless Neanderthals were any sensible creatures or living in the 21st century in a civilized country, there were so many other ways to protest. There were ways to protest, lodge a police complaint against him, make an online petition, stand up, all of that. No, they didn't do any of that. They turned up, started burning the city. They play right in the hands of these right-wing activists. And they say, okay, that's so easy. Who is to stop a far right-wing activist next week doing the same thing in Norway or Belgium or in London? Who's there to stop them? No one. I think this is exactly you're playing. What the worst thing is that these Muslims will eventually back down. And what the worst thing from their point of view, what's going to happen is that even Muslims are going to get desensitized. They'll be like, yeah, okay, well, we can't burn the city now. We can't do anything. I guess it's okay. And I guess that's the point that ex-Muslims make. Ex-Muslims don't do it. Or Islam critics, most of the Islam critics that I'm familiar with, they don't do it to provoke them. They do it to normalize it, that they will get desensitized. That's one way of dealing with that. But the right-wing activists, they do that to provoke them, and they get provoked. But it's not winning any. Neither one of those two are actually going to win. But the worst thing that's going to happen is the saddest thing that happens out of these things is that otherwise liberal Westerners, when they see these images of the buildings burning, the police being attacked by refugees or by people who just came to the country, some of them might have been born and raised there, but no, that's not the image that people get. People get, oh, these must be refugees, or these must be first-generation migrants. Stop immigration, stop taking refugees. And the worst thing that's going to happen out of that is those people in the middle, those sensible Western liberals, they are pushed towards right wing. And this is, and I'm not saying, I'm not giving a theory that is so far advanced into the future. No, we've seen that Angela Merkel's popularity has been going down, a bleeding heart leftist, and a Nazi sympathizer has become the second largest party in Germany. We've seen right-wing parties, right-wing, not I wouldn't say far right, but right-wing parties, conservative parties in Italy, in Spain. Poland has gone even worse, but Poland was never a liberalized country anyway to begin with. But this is happening everywhere. And that's going to keep happening. And what's going to happen, we're going to collectively lose sensible left-wing governments. And again, I don't know whether I should call them sensible or not. Is it Angela Merkel, was Angela Merkel sensible when she decided to take 2 million refugees? Just let them in. We don't know what's coming in. And then what happened? We saw. Again, it might be a very small percentage of people. But here's the key point. I looked through Twitter yesterday, Sweden riots. And I was hoping, please, someone other than Majid Nawaz or Imam Tawhidi. I don't know whether they have tweeted or not either. But if they haven't, we can cut them slack. We know what their position would be. They would be condemning them. I was hoping that I would find some prominent Muslim saying that, oh, we condemn this. But guess what I found? There was nothing from any major Muslim. But what I found was there was this guy who's some major prominent Indian journalist or something. He had a blue tick next to him. I didn't save it. Hang on, let me find that. I think you have to see it because that is the epitome of the sorry state of Muslim discourse. It's crying victim all the time. Hang on, where is it? Sorry, give me a moment. I should have done my homework before, but I didn't. I think it's deleted it. He might have deleted that crafty bastard. Where is it? Yeah, no, there it is. Hasn't deleted it. No shame. He hasn't deleted it. How do we take screenshots on Mac now? Because I'm using Windows and I've forgotten how to do it. Okay. Brand. Sorry, guys. Sorry to keep you waiting. Okay, so I have a lot of Indian followers, and maybe they can leave in the comments that who this guy is. This guy, Salman Nizami, this was the most popular tweet under the hashtag Sweden riots. And he said, strongly condemn. I'm like, oh, thank you. All right, strongly condemn what's happening in Sweden. No, strongly condemn the deliberate desecration of the Holy Quran in Sweden. Such a reprehensible act could only be the work of extremists and is evidently designed to provoke dissent and discord among communities and people across the world. This fanatic must be punished. Maintain peace. What about strongly condemning this? Or this? Or this? Or this? What about condemning this? No, not a word. Give me a moment. Oh, what happened here? Oh, man, I wasn't recording this. Oops. All right, I forgot to press the record button on my other camera. Okay, so what happened to condemning this? Nothing. They didn't condemn it. He's condemning. He's worried about a worthless piece of paper. Fair enough. These guys hold it very dear, but do they hold them more dear to other human life or the livelihoods of other people? Clearly, they do. This is why when I went to Europe, I gave a couple of speeches, one in Berlin and Norway. This is what I said. Fair enough, people have their own worldviews. But we, or Western world, have a responsibility towards its own people as well. West wasn't like this to begin with. West liberalized. They separated church from the state's affairs. They did that on purpose, and they have their own story. Hundreds of years, so many people died, persecuted by the church, but that's where they are. So they have a responsibility to preserve their values, their Western liberal values, where human life is above everything, an individual's life is above everything. Sacred texts, there are no sacred texts. Beliefs are not important. They're not worth more than human lives. But if someone comes to a Western country, fair enough, you believe in some mythical deity, sure, you're allowed to do it, but you cannot. The moment your beliefs overlap with Western values, that's when there's a problem. And I reckon those people should be deported. I reckon these people should be in prison, and these people should be deported. But people like this guy have no shame. He would not condemn them, and he's just openly condoning their behavior. And again, going back to it, what this does, it pushes normal people in the middle, people who are sensible liberals sitting in the center. They think, okay, we should have controlled immigration, but then they see it goes the other way, and we see negative results. As I said at the start, there were 300 writers. Sweden's population is, I think, 4% Muslims, and you say 2% would be males. Actually, even less than that, because there'll be some women and children in that 4% as well. So only 300 people turned up. But again, where are the other people who are not condemning that attack? You know why they're not condemning it? Because deep down inside, they're happy. They're like, yeah, I wouldn't do it. That Muslim wouldn't do it. But he's happy. Good on you, boys. Well done. Well done, mate. You did what I didn't have the courage to do so. You've done it. Well done. They desecrated our Quran. Burn Sweden down. Burn it down. That's what they're thinking. It shows that. It doesn't hurt for Yasir Qadhi, Shabir Ali, even this Mo the Broomhead, Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawa. These guys should have tweeted. They didn't. What they did instead, I was trying to find Yasir Qadhi's opinion on that. He had blocked me. They're more concerned about our critique of Islam than they're considering the lives of Muslims themselves. Because what is this going to attract? This is going to attract more negative publicity of Muslims. And I think they've done well for a limited amount of time in PR. They successfully developed this snake oil of Islamophobia, and it's sold to certain sectors. All of these people, these woke people, when I privately debate with them, within 3 or 4 comments, they have no comebacks left, and they're like, yeah, well, okay, makes sense, whatnot. Because there's a clear problem. These woke people talk against Christianity, conservatism, holy cows, books, and they complain about those things. LGBTQ rights, but then they support Islam. They're not supporting Muslims, they're supporting Islam. And they don't know. I think, to be honest, this woke class is so stupid. They don't even know the difference between Islam and Muslim. They don't know the difference. I understand Muslims tend to tie their identity with Islam. That's why they talk like that. They feel attacked when somebody attacks Islam. Even people like Muhammad Hijab, they call them Islamophobe if someone is criticizing Islam, and then with the same sentence they go anti-Muslim bigots as well. They label them together. But fair enough, people like Muhammad Hijab, they're dishonest people. Their survival relies on muddying the water, making the discourse as unclear as possible, and somehow get away with it. But this woke class, they have no idea what they're doing. But this is going to be, things like these are going to happen more. And look what happens. It gives them an opportunity to make cartoons like this. And, it's like Sweden. Hey, humanity first. Let the migrants come in. And then they say, oh, let's burn Sweden down, Islam first. People don't realize that. I think these woke liberals think that these people, Muslims, some Muslims, most Muslims, have similar attitude towards society and religion as they have as Westerners. They don't. Even if you ask a standard Pakistani, who are you? He would say, I am a Muslim first, and then I'm a Pakistani. They don't even love their own country more than they love this doctrine, the 7th century doctrine exported from the deserts of Arabia. They don't. And I understand that there's a confusion in their own minds as well. They don't realize what they actually believe in. But when something as charged up as desecration of the Quran happens, that's it. I'm a Muslim bell rings in their head, and they go for it. So anyway, so that's very sad that no major Muslim figure has come out and said anything condemning that. All right, let's have a look at some of the comments, what people are saying. All right, nothing. Mo Hijab, the golden shower boy, has holes. Okay, Mo Hijab. What a dishonest human being. I mean, the debate with, no one should actually debate with Muhammad Hijab on anything on his platform. Just that would, I reckon those people would be stupid who do that. And I told Abdullah Gondal, don't get involved. Don't if you want to do it, bring him to your own channel. He doesn't have a channel, but he can use Abdullah Samir's channel, my channel. But Mo Hijab should not be on his platform. That guy fiddles with microphones. He edits videos. That's what they do. And he's so stupid that he thinks that people won't pick up on that. But he has this little crowd around him that just says, yeah, we won. Yeah, we won. But they didn't. But that's what they're going to do. Yeah, we won. They haven't won anything. I mean, they just don't know that we have this soft belly in our side. Just grab them on the apostate issue. Death for apostates. That's it. They have no reasonable answer. Oh, yeah, but under a true Islamic caliphate, that's when apostasy. Yeah, right. That doesn't sell, you doofus. Anyway, yeah, idiot audiences, basically. All right, so, okay, so on the same issue as the Sweden riots, there's been something going on between my good friend Abdullah Samir and my other good friend Robert Spencer. And as some of you know, Robert Spencer came to my show, I think 3 weeks ago, and I did 1 hour interview with him. Do check it out. And I did specifically ask him the question that what are his thoughts on ex-Muslim movement? Because I know that certain ex-Muslims have had problems with Robert in the past, mainly Ali Rizvi and Abdullah Samir. These two are the only major guys who have had problem with Robert Spencer. And I trust their opinion. I never read what Robert had to say. Jihad Watch or Taqiyya Watch, these kind of loaded terms somehow do leave a bad taste in our mouth. And we go, yeah, is there a harsher agenda behind this? Even Taqiyya Watch is my friend, but I know that kind of a term is just, trust me, guys, it doesn't work well with a sane, true blue, classical liberal. It just doesn't work well with them, including ex-Muslims. So Jihad Watch, maybe that. So I stayed away from Robert Spencer. I also stayed away from David Wood as well. And I noticed that I had my own biases in that as well. Major thing, all three of these guys, David Wood, Taqiyya Watch, Jihad Watch, they're all Christians. I actually didn't know that about Taqiyya Watch, and that's why I had engaged with Taqiyya Watch a little bit more. I thought he was an atheist, but he's not. He's, I think, he's Swedish, I think. But anyway, I've got nothing against any of these guys now. So anyway, so I thought about it. I said, and then I looked into his tweets. I was following him for a while, and I thought, he's just criticizing Islam, just like us ex-Muslims do. So what is it? And then I noticed that then, some people told me where he called, somebody called Ali Rizvi, who's a very good friend of mine. I respect him a lot. And somebody called him a closeted jihadi or something, or a stealth jihadi. And Robert Spencer retweeted that and said, not only just that, and he's this and this and this as well. So when I spoke with Robert Spencer, he said he doesn't remember calling him jihadi. Now, I know that it's true that he didn't actually call him stealth jihadi, but he did retweet it. But I also understand that we should have the same merits to judge people like Robert Spencer and David Wood the way that we judge each other. For instance, I mean, the way Abdullah Samir judges me, and I know Abdullah Samir he cuts me a lot of slack as well. There was a moment when we didn't speak for like 6 months over some petty argument that's not even worth going into. Actually, no, it is worth going into. I mean, I had a position, and I locked horns with Abdullah Samir, and Abdullah Samir turned out to be right in that argument, and I changed my position on that. So I'm like, okay, that's fine, but Abdullah Samir cut me that slack, maybe because even while we had the disagreement, Abdullah Samir was still charitable towards me. But we just weren't talking at that point because I think my ego was bigger than it should have been. But I noticed that we were not cutting the same slack to people like Robert Spencer, for instance. There were a few tweets where Abdullah Samir sent me one tweet where Robert Spencer had shown a story where a Muslim had killed his wife, and then Iraqi wife, and then a Western wife. And then he said, well, what does that has to do with him being a Muslim or Islam? And that's true. That was poor journalism on Robert Spencer's part. That's fine. But is that the only thing in his, 10-year-long career or however long, maybe 5 more? That's fair enough over thousands of tweets. That's fair enough if somebody makes a little bit of a mistake. And I'll come to that, why that's fair enough. And then there was Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a known Islamist propaganda outlet that even called Majid Nawaz a racist, and Majid Nawaz sued them and he won. And I saw the article, the first 5 quotes that they had quoted Robert Spencer. I didn't find anything anti-Muslimish in that. There was one problematic statement in that way. Robert Spencer had said that we should ban Muslim migration. And I understand where he's coming from. I don't support that. I understand where he's coming from. My stance is a little bit softer than Robert Spencer's stance, but it still is something that a lot of people would call me bigot for it. I say strong vetting of Muslim migration, exclusively strong vetting for Muslim migrants. It might seem unfair. It might seem unfair that, okay, why does a Muslim has to answer at the immigration check that I am not willing to spread Islam or turn America into an Islamic state? Why does, and most likely these questions people lie anyway, but why does a Muslim has to answer that and a Hindu wouldn't be asked? Well, because unfortunately Hindus are not trying to overthrow governments all around the world. It just doesn't happen. So it might seem unfair, but that does make sense. So that's my stance on that. But Robert Spencer doesn't have a connection to it. So he might have said, well, okay. And I think that's also once or twice he might have said that. I don't think he holds that view anymore. And even if he does, I understand that. I don't agree with that. I understand that. But other than that, I didn't find anything in that Southern Poverty Law Center's article against them. And Robert Spencer has said plenty of times that this was just that just maligned him, and there was no response to there was no way to respond to that article, etc., etc. So if these are 2 or 3 isolated incidents where we can jump on Robert Spencer and then we just keep calling him, you're racist, you're bigot, Islamophobe, anti-Muslim bigot, then he's likely to react at some point. I've reacted far worse at people. And I think I get away with that because I'm an ex-Muslim. I don't get called an anti-Muslim bigot that easily because, it's not going to stick. My whole family is Muslim. My mother is a 5-time praying devout Muslim. Wouldn't hurt a fly. And that's the reason those are the people that keep my humanity in check as well, about Muslims as people, that, okay, what about my mother? She's a Muslim too. When people say that Muslim migration should be banned, I go back to 2003 when I was a 19-year-old boy, a 19-year-old Muslim boy. I would have never been allowed to enter Australia, and I would have never lived the life that I'm living now. So that's why, I am against that for personal reasons. But Robert doesn't have that problem. Robert cannot narrow it down to that point. He can look at his American way of life and he can say, well, So again, so those are the things. I think these are the things where we should sit down and have a chat. And I am sure I have found Robert to be a very reasonable person. And you can have this. I spoke with Robert on these issues, and I think I missed some of these issues because I wasn't aware of that. But I'm sure if I speak to him again, he would give his opinion. I'm pretty sure what he would say on that. And that's what we should hold people on. That's what we should judge people on. We shouldn't be judging people on a tweet they made 5 years ago. I made a blunder in my book. I quoted some figures, and that shows the importance. And this is why I keep saying why it's so important to actually maintain your intellectual honesty, because if you lie, I didn't even lie, but if you lie, it's always going to come back and bite you in the backside. I didn't lie in my book, but I didn't do my research thoroughly enough to make that claim. So in my book, I claim something like 70% of sexual assaults in Sweden were carried out by 2% Muslim population. I sourced that information from a blog post, which later found out to be a right-wing propaganda, which I didn't realize at that time. It made sense. They had right references of Sweden's crime statistics agency, but then I couldn't verify that with Sweden crime statistic agency because it was in Swedish language. And then anyway, so I couldn't find that. But again, my fault. And I acknowledged that. I made a Facebook post and I made a tweet as well. But it's in my book. Now I can't remove that. It's out there. And now I'm saying that on a video as well, so I can put a separate excerpt as well on that. I apologize that I made a mistake. But guess what? But then I did find a BBC's article on that, and it says something like 52%. So I got it wrong by 20%. I said 72%. BBC said 52% of sexual assaults in Sweden were committed by migrants from Muslim majority countries, with an assumption that they were Muslims. That's still a pretty big number. 52% of sexual assaults in Sweden committed by a demographic that only makes up 2% of the population. That's still pretty damning evidence. But again, I moved away from that. So my point is, and my career is 3 years long. Robert's been doing this for how long? So you're bound to make some mistakes somewhere along the way. So instead of jumping on the bandwagon and just, it's like a gotcha moment, waiting for gotcha moment. And you said that, boom. So I think that's where I disagree with Abdullah Samir on this. I haven't spoken to Ali on this issue. I actually spoke with Ali today about something else, but I didn't get a chance to speak to him on this. And I think Abdullah Samir, as I said, he's a friend, but it just, it would have been better that if he tried to speak with Robert and speaking on these issues, that would have been better. But yeah, anyway, so that's hi Harris, love from Sweden. Hello, Hades. Yeah, well, love right back at ya. All right, let's move on to the next story. So now this is, again, it seems like anti-Muslim propaganda. No, this is our responsibility that we correct our own house. I hail from Pakistan, which is a majority Muslim country, and I hope to live to see a day when majority of Pakistanis have left Islam. It's not really as far-fetched as you might think. There's a study that just came out of Iran. I'm in Nawabi's country. They're doing much better than Pakistan. Actually, we don't know if they're doing much better than Pakistan, because Pakistan, there hasn't been any survey lately. But anyway, so look at this. According to a new poll, 4 decades after the establishment of the Islamic regime, only 32% of the population consider themselves Shia Muslims. Iran, guys, is supposed to be a Shia majority country, but they're only 32% of the population consider themselves as Shia Muslim. Now, this has a 95% accuracy, because 50,000 Iranians is the sample size, and then 90% of them were actually residing in Iran. So 45,000 were Iranians. According to the results, 78% of Iranians believe in God. You know, that could be like, yeah, God, deistic God, oh, spirits, yeah, there is something out there, I don't know what that is. 78% of them believe in that. So they're not atheists. But I also put majority of these wishy-washy kind of God believers in the atheist agnostic category, because it has no impact. If you believe that there is, if there's just an unknown friend in the sky, that's it. You don't believe in any scriptures, you don't believe in anything else, that God is irrelevant. You're more or less an agnostic or an atheist. It's a religious thing that we have a problem with. So our definitions of atheism vary a little bit, but 9% have claimed to be atheists and 22% do not align themselves with any religion. So 9% have claimed to be atheists and 22% do not align with any religion. So that is also confirmed atheism to me. That's 22 plus 9 is 31%. 31% atheists in Iran. Atheists and agnostics. 31. I think in Australia it's like 33%, according to the last census that we had. 33% in Iran. Now imagine how many of those non-believers would have to wear hijab. That these Western lipstick feminists say hijab is women empowerment. Just imagine that those women in Iran, those 30%, 15% would be women. They have to wear the hijab. Of course they're going to come out. Of course they're going to rebel. Of course they're going to hate Islam. Of course they're going to burn the Quran. There's so many videos we've seen people burning the Quran in Iran. And that's what happens. And that's, anyway, let's carry on with that, with the rest of it. Out of 61% of the people born into religious families, 60% do not say their daily prayers. So, they don't believe in it. They don't pray anyway. 68% of the participants believe that religion must not be the basis of legislation, so demanding secular state. 71% believe that religious institute must be self-funded, and 42% believe that promoting any kind of religion must be banned. Look at this, guys. This is phenomenal. The results also indicate that 73% of the population disagree with the compulsory hijab, while 58% do not believe in hijab at all. So majority of people don't even believe that people should be wearing hijab. There should be compulsory hijab. So if you want to wear it, fine. And that's a sensible approach. You want to wear it, fine, wear it, but don't force it upon people. 37% of Iranians drink alcohol regularly or occasionally, despite its prohibition after the revolution. There was one more statistic that I wanted to say, which is very important. Yeah, so according to the results, 78% of Iranians believe in God, but only 26% of them believe in the coming of the Messiah, Imam Mahdi, which is one of the main beliefs of the 12 Shias. That's supposed to be the 12th Imam Mahdi, who will come and just, fight the Jews and take Muslims back to glory days. But that many people, 26% don't even believe in that. Sorry, 26% of them just believe in that. The rest don't believe in that. So that's such amazing news coming out of Iran, and I hope to live to see a day when Pakistan shows such kind of results. The last result that we had in 2012 Gallup study in Pakistan that says we jumped from convinced atheist jumped from 1% to 2%. Now that was convinced atheist. It wasn't as detailed as this, where people, what do they believe in prayers? Do they believe in secularism, etc.? They don't. I have a strong feeling that number would have risen to a state that the mainstream Pakistani community wouldn't be able to handle. Even the government wouldn't be able to handle. I reckon atheism, agnosticism, skepticism is growing like a wildfire in the Muslim world. And we just need more of these studies. By the way, this Iranian study was done by, it wasn't like, hey, just going to people and say, hey, knocking on the door, hey, do you believe in religion? No, it was actually, there were very covert methods were adopted to extract these answers, because you're not even allowed to ask this question in countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia. And I'm pretty sure Pakistan would be. I think Pakistan might allow it. Actually, I don't know. They did allow it in Gallup. They did allow Gallup to do it, but I don't know. I don't know how they would be doing it now. So anyway, so these kind of studies always have to be done covertly rather than overtly. So speaking of which, as I was saying, it's our responsibility to clean up our mess, clean up the mess that's coming out of Pakistan. Even though majority of Pakistanis on surface oppose me, but I'm still a Pakistani, and I wish to secularize Pakistan. And in the process, I will name and shame those who are Islamists and jihadists living in Western countries. So here's one such example. Look at this woman, Tayyiba Zia Chima is her name. She's a She lives in New York. She's a journalist. Here's a Facebook profile. And here she's saying proudly and that anyone who insults the prophets or the companions of Muhammad, if the government doesn't take strict actions against them, such as hanging them, she didn't say that, I'm putting that in bracket because that's what she meant by if the government doesn't take harshest action against them, then these people will keep springing out. Because of the lack of law and order and punishment, these people are springing out of nowhere. And the guy in circle here is their US citizen who was killed in Peshawar by a vigilante. And she's basically condoning that. She's saying that unless the state actually hangs them, these kind of things will keep happening. There was so anyway, so this woman, so I tagged her, I tweeted that, I tagged her in, I tagged the NYPD, I tagged FBI, counterterrorism, etc., State Department, etc. This is why it's so important, guys, that you follow me on Twitter, because it's so important for people to. YouTube shares are good, Facebook shares are good, but if you want real action to be taken and real things to be noticed by real people, influential people, then you need to be on Twitter, and you need to follow me on Twitter, so I can keep exposing these people. Yeah, so this woman, as I said, so I showed this woman, I made a tweet on Twitter. I made a video about her on my Urdu channel. I don't think it's, I think it's going up in about an hour and a half. So people will be, make sure there's the links there, there's information there. Make sure you retweet that particular tweet and make sure that State Department, FBI, these guys notice that, because these sheep like this, these are wolves in sheep's clothing. They're living amongst you, and they're triggering that in countries like Pakistan. We are trying so hard to normalize Pakistan, but these guys, people like this woman, they are making an already conservative extremist society, turning them into even more extremist than what they already are. And they look like modern progressive Muslim, this woman, but they ain't. So very important that you take that action. Okay. Speaking of which, behavior. Now, there was this news story that came out a few days ago where French Interior Minister said that they're going to deport a Muslim family. They're going to deport a family of a Muslim girl who was 17, who she was beaten and they shaved off her head for dating a Christian. They have no reason to be on our soil. People, I really don't understand with what face some modern progressive Muslims can call this Islamophobic. I really don't. What do you expect France to do? Put them in prison? Yes, that's fair enough. Now, how many are going to put them in prison? Fair enough. Not every Muslim is going to do that. But are they really not going to ostracize their daughter if she is not marrying a Muslim groom as per the wishes of the family? Come on, guys. We know it. This is what we call native informers. We know it. We know the attitude. A Muslim man can actually marry a non-Muslim girl, and then they can convert them. And that's why we see why there's so many white female converts to Islam as opposed to male converts to Islam. There are some, but not that many, because Muslim men have an opportunity. They have a bit more freedom to go out and, you can get a white girl, convert her to Islam, fine. But a Muslim girl doesn't have that luxury, because she's going to have to date. She's going to have to date a white guy, a Christian boy, and then she's going to have to brainwash him and then say, hey, convert to Islam. A Muslim family is not going to allow that. And that's why things like this happen. So most Muslims may not go to that extreme, but they're not going to be happy. We've seen examples of girls being taken to Pakistan and from England and then killed under the name of dishonor killing. How do you expect West to react? Unless we clean up our own house, things like these are going to keep happening. And I fear that these modern progressive Muslims, they're digging a hole for all of us to fall into it. Keep saying this. People who are otherwise secular liberals, when they see things like these, they get pushed towards right. They get pushed towards people, far right people who say, yep, we don't want to have anything to do with Muslim immigration. So it's very, it's very sad that that's what's happening. All right, let's see, next one. All right, so let's go back to some normal God bashing session. So if you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, this is going to offend you. So there's a new story that came out of Pakistan. It's not a funny story. This is a man who murdered 11 of his family members in Panu. Akil says he was commanded by Allah to sacrifice. So he basically killed his wife, children, along with, and he worked with one of his favorite sons in murdering his family members. Very sad, obviously. He's been arrested. That's a good thing. But my question to Muslims is, to believers is, why are you not believing in him? Why are you not believing in him, but you believe that Abraham was commanded by God to kill his son, and then obviously magically, a sheep appeared and he said, okay, I was just playing with you. Gotcha. God said, gotcha. I was just playing with your little emotions. Here's a sheep. Go and eat and have a party. Have a bonfire there. But you believe in that. You have no evidence of that. But you believe in that, but you're not willing to believe in this guy. Maybe God was having a little practical joke as well, but this time he went too far and he said, okay, I'm not going to stop it. I just want to see whether you would kill your family or sacrifice your family for me or not. Why are you not believing in that? Objectively, you have no reason to believe in Abraham or Muhammad or Jesus or Moses, whoever you believe in. You have no reason to believe in those ancient mythical characters from distant past and not believe in that. But if you believe in that, you should be believing in that too. There's another sad story that came out, and I'm only pointing that out because a lot of these Muslim apologies that come to us is, oh, you atheist, because you don't have any book to follow, therefore, are you sleeping with your sister? So they say that to us, and obviously you can check out my video on incest, how I tackle that question. And I think not other atheists have done it as well as I have. And again, I'm not self-congratulating myself, but because I came from Pakistan, a sex-obsessed country, this question was thrown at me so many times that I had to really, really think hard and long about it. And I did, and I think I have a bulletproof argument against it. So go check it out. I think Mo the Broomhead, the Golden Shower Boy, tweeted that as well, and he was like just laughing at it. Oh, what kind of reasoning is that? He had no answer to it, and he would never have any answer to it. But anyway, so have a look at this news story in India. A Muslim man marries his own daughter, impregnates her, and he says that God commanded him. And his wife was a witness of the marriage ceremony. I'm not saying that God said it, but why? What makes you think that? How can you say that God didn't tell him that? Maybe God was doing a practical joke. And maybe, just like Abraham, at the right time, God replaced Abraham's son and made a sheep appear magically. Maybe here, he forgot to replace his daughter with some other virgin out of his heaven. Maybe God forgot, or maybe God like, yeah, okay, now I'm just going to see. Let me check what's going on down there. Oh, you naughty. You guys have absolutely no reason not to believe in him. If you believe in your ancient characters, no reason. Believe in these guys too. But we know you're not going to believe in it. You're going to say, well, no, God would never command anything like that. Yeah, as if you're the mind of the God. You know, when we ask you, why did God did this? Why did God do that? Then you say, oh, God works in mysterious ways. But here, God could be working in a mysterious way. These are mysterious ways of the God, your God. Anyway, all right. God is destroying Islam. Allah is destroying Islam. He's abrogating the whole of Islam. Yes, he is. All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, so I've been talking about this for the last few weeks now, as you guys would have noticed, and a lot of other people have noticed that too. And my viewership of my English channel has gone up as well, because I'm focusing on what's happening in Pakistan. And I think I have a responsibility to do that, because I am a Pakistani. I know it's hard to believe, but there's some cool ones and smart ones too. Although we're in minority, but we do exist. Okay, so I showed you how with the murder of that US citizen in Peshawar court, he got killed over blasphemy charges. Apparently Muhammad came to the dream of this kid, and he said, he literally gave him the gun and then he shot him. Turned out to be wrong. There was a lawyer involved. And then Pakistan's top actress was charged with blasphemy for having a little photo shoot, dancing photo shoot, twirling photo shoot inside of a mosque, charged with blasphemy. And the government is trying to cover it up ever since, because it's embarrassing. And then last week I told you about Marvi Sharma, the feminist, a female activist living in America, made a joke about Jesus. Again, charge her with blasphemy, hang her. We're seeing the increasing frequency of these things. Temples were destroyed, and new temples were not being allowed to be built. So Pakistan is getting further and further pushed towards extremism. And I said that, and I'm saying that again. There will be a lot more of these incidents will be happening in the coming weeks and months, unless government does something about this black law of blasphemy. But this is a snowball effect. Now they have charged up this society so much over this blasphemy issue that they can't even reverse this kind of a law. Unless they hang people, these people will keep demanding more and more blood. So I think the iron fist of the government has to come down, but I don't think government is strong enough to do that. They're not going to tackle this issue. They're not going to abolish the law. They're not going to soften the law. But as a result, more and more incidents like this are going to happen. So I have a video. I'm not going to play it because I didn't put English subtitles on it. So this is a Shia guy, and now there was a Twitter trend against him as well. There were at one stage 100,000 tweets were made about him. Arrest Asif Raza Shakib 298A, which is again another form of blasphemy law. He's a Shia. Blasphemy. Now Sunnis are going after Shias. I said it last time. It's a part of Shia's faith that they don't believe in the first three caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman. It's a part of their faith that they criticize those guys. And in their private gatherings, they literally abuse the first three companions of the Prophet. That's the difference. That's why the Shias and the other ones are Sunnis. They believe Ali should have been the first and only caliph, first caliph. And then it should have gone from the family of Prophet. And they believe that Abu Bakr, Umar, and Uthman conspired against Ali, there's some truth in that too. So that's a part of their faith. So he made a video where he was criticizing Abu Bakr, and he said Abu Bakr was a kafir because all these political differences he had with the daughter of the Prophet, Fatima. And the whole Pakistan erupted And in the past 72 years, they've been doing that for the past 72 years, but nothing had happened. But why is it happening now? It's happening now because you have charged up Pakistani society so much over this blasphemy issue that there's no way out. And that's not only just this Shia guy. Have a look at the next one. This guy is a Sunni Hafiz Quran. Hafiz means he knows the Quran off his heart. He got killed by his own friend who was a fellow security guard, and he shot him over insulting Islam, some sort of blasphemy. It's not clear what exactly did he say. So Muslims are killing each other over blasphemy now. I've said it before. In 1947, Ahmadis, Sunnis, and Shias, they conspired against India and they carved out Pakistan. That's what they did. After Pakistan was formed, Sunnis and Shias conspired against Ahmadis, and now Ahmadis are outcast. And now Sunnis, all sects of Sunnis, are now conspiring against Shias. And recently, as I said, in Pakistan's largest province, Punjab, there was a law passed called Protection of the Foundations of Islam, which said that you can't criticize the four companions. As I said, Shia's faith is a part of their faith. They don't like the first three caliphs, so they do criticize them. And that's why there's this movement against Shias like him. And that's going to keep happening. It's not just going to be Asia Bibi or some poor Christian or a Hindu person. They're too scared. They don't even open their mouths. Now they're going to start killing each other. And that's what's happening. There's a meme where they say the last Muslim on on earth, he's got a sword in his foot, and he's got one sword in his hand, and he's fighting amongst with himself. And that's what it shows. That's what they're doing. There's killing. There's this insatiable desire to murder people over 7th century fairy tales. These are fairy tales. I'm sorry, we're not going to soften it. We're not going to sugarcoat your bullshit. But let's have it. There was some good news as well, as I've spoken about it multiple times. According to Human Rights Watch and some other Hindu Council of Pakistan, there's a report that 1,000 girls every year, 1,000 Hindu girls every year are abducted and converted to Islam. And we know that there's always Hindu girls that are converting to Islam, because, you know, and they're young, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, you know, living by the example of the great prophet. Get the girls, either turn them into sex slaves or marry them. You can't turn into sex slaves now, but marry them. Get the young virgins for yourself. How come there are no Hindu boys converting to Islam? Why? You know why? Because then they will have to give their daughters to those ex-Hindu boys to marry. But no, they don't want to give the girls to them. That's the reason why Hindu boys are not converting. So anyways, 1,000 girls are abducted every year, according to Hindu Council of Pakistan and Human Rights Watch. And I've spoken about this 1,000, and they converted to Islam. So government is aware of that. They tried that in 2017. They tried to pass a law, but the clerics jumped up and down, and they said, no, you're discouraging people from converting to Islam. And by the way, another note, just a side note. In Pakistan, you can convert from any religion to Islam. Nobody knows, nobody says anything. But if you convert from Islam to any other religion, including atheism, which is not a religion, then you have to appear in the court, which is the reason why people don't go, because what are you going to do in the court? Your Honor, I left Islam because I don't believe in the Prophet Muhammad. What do you don't believe in Prophet? I don't agree with his moral character. You know, he married a 9-year-old girl, or he owned so many sex slaves, and, you know, he married his daughter-in-law, blah, blah, blah. And blasphemy! And that's when they get you. So that's the reason why people don't go. And they don't say we're atheists or convert their religion. But isn't that hypocrisy that from Islam, you can go to any religion, but from other religion, from Islam, you can't go to any other religion, but from any other religion you can come to Islam? Isn't that hypocrisy? But anyway, so the government is aware of this problem, and they tried that in 2017. Clerics jumped up and down, and they couldn't do it. And now this is a second attempt. The Senate, the People's Party, they're trying to pass a law. It's just a bill that there will be strong penalties against those who to help minorities against forced conversions. But again, it's just a bill, hasn't turned into a law yet. And let's see how it goes. It's not good news yet, because it'll be better news when it actually does become a law and these clerics are arrested. And I think some of the punishments recommended are like something like 15 years or something, which is good. So let's see which way it goes. All right, people. So spoken about a lot of things. What else? Oh yeah, there's a funny, you know, the BLM, Black Lives Matter protesters. They should see. I know. I'm saying something as a joke, and nothing that serious. But you know, in third world countries, the everything is third class. Everything is bad. Whether that's flooding, whether that's law and order, whether that's healthcare, whether that's quality of education, everything is bad. And only those people can be judges of that who have lived in both worlds. Most Westerners have never been to third world countries, and some third world country citizens have never been to a developed country, so they don't realize that there's some of us who've actually lived in both worlds, we know the difference. So, you know, America has a police brutality problem. I've never liked American police. I was joking to my partner that we're going to, you know, I was joking to my partner. I was like, I was planning to go to US and Canada. I was saying, we'll go to US, and then I want to go from Nevada to Grand Canyon. I want to drive there. And then I said, you know, should we have a gun? Because, you know, I might get pulled over because I'm brown. I was just joking. And she said, "Oh, that's okay, but I'm white." She's white. So she's like, "Yeah, you'll get killed." So again, as I said, we were just joking about it. I don't think it's that bad, but it's bad. I say that we should comply with the police at that moment, and then deal with them later. And I understand that hurts your self-respect and dignity. So some people react. They shouldn't. I can only speak for Australia. I've actually sworn at a police officer as well. I've dropped the F-bomb at him, and I've told him, "Hurry up, give me the bloody ticket and get on your way." And the police officer couldn't do anything. So I know I couldn't get away with doing that in America. He would have put a gun on me, and it was get out of the car. So I understand different countries have different rules. So I get it. But in Pakistan, it's a lot worse. Have a look at this video. So basically, there was this guy. I think it's a female because the piece of that dupatta, that piece of clothing, looked feminish. So I don't know. So he or she was filming this whatever was going on in the street, and someone said, "Hey, turn off the camera," and she just kept filming. He or she kept filming, and he said, "Boom!" He pulled out the gun, and boom, shot at her. And you could see the dust flying from them. I think it ricocheted of the of the wall. But I hope he or she didn't get hurt. Imagine the protests on that if that had happened. But these kind of things do happen in America quite a lot. But in Australia, mate, so Australia, and I would think that other countries like Britain and some other European countries as well, they are much better. They have much better police as well. America, there's a gun culture as well, and I think American police are also on edge. They don't know if that person in the car, whether he has a gun or not. So that's why sometimes they just pull them over and they just put a gun on them. We can never heard it. I mean, we can't even think of anything of that sort in Australia, because we don't have a gun culture here. Even though I would want one. I'm not going to tell you whether I do have one. Okay. There was a super chat here by Potato Fries. Muslims always talk about how the Crusades were a land grab war waged by the Christians, but in fact it was a nearly 200 years late response to jihadis or Islamic looting and raiding in southern Europe. What's the truth? Well, you're right. I mean, the actual Crusades, you could say Inquisitions, but the actual Crusades were that was actually defense of Christian land. Why were the holy warriors going to Sicily? Arabs? What they say they were not a part of the caliphate, but there were Arabs who went to Sicily, and even on Rome. We have actually records that Rome was attacked for a little bit of time as well. What were they doing but the holy warriors did go to Spain. What were they doing there? And then they were trying to work their way up to France. What were they doing there? Of course, it was a land grab job from the caliphate as well. What were they doing in Iran? What were they doing in India? Of course it was a land grab. On the other hand, what happened with discovery of the New World, North America, South America, and Australia. And I was talking to my mum about it. I was like, "Woof, we're lucky that the caliph, that the caliphs did not send exploratory, however you say it, ships to North America or South America or Australia. Otherwise, we would have had these countries as Muslim countries, and who knows how that would have turned out. So we're lucky that didn't happen. Yeah." Anyway, okay. I think I didn't share the link. Well, anyway, I'm about to share the link here now, Talal, anyway, so people can come in. Let me see if I have any other news story to cover. Yeah, look, I want to talk about the predictions, but I think I didn't do it on my Urdu stream, so I'll just leave it for now. Those of you who haven't checked out my predictions of the Holy Prophet, do check it out. I don't know, surprisingly, I've only had 2,000 views on that. That video deserves a lot more views because it's really funny. Muslims often talk about, oh, what about the glorious predictions, the accurate predictions of the Prophet? You know, those predictions ain't accurate at all. There's so many hilarious predictions of the Prophet in there, including the one women's buttocks will jiggle of a certain tribe. The tribe has also gone extinct anyway, but an hour, the day of judgment wouldn't come until the buttocks of women wouldn't jiggle. You know, we've had jiggling buttocks of Western women, I don't know, for thousands of years. But anyway, but there's so many other funny, hilarious predictions there as well. So do check out the video. All right, I think Twitter is still in meltdown with this Robert Spencer and Abdullah Samir issue. All right, so who else is there? Let's see. Talal, I'm not going to take you unless you have put your voice changer on, because you know I can't edit your voice afterwards. So let me know in the private chat that you have the voice changer. Or as Satya Prakash, she sent 100 rupees, I think. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got Truth Seeker. What would you like to say, Truth Seeker?
Hi, Harris. How are you?
Oh, hang on. Let me put my headphones on. All right. Microphone is Yeti. Okay, that's good. All right. Yes, Truth Seeker, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I want to tell you an interesting story I read a couple of years ago in Times of India. I live in New York, but this happened in UP, India.
So where do you live?
I live in New York. I spoke to you before.
Oh, right.
I'm a dentist.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Yes. So there was this news story in Times of India a couple of years ago that there was this guy. He was working in the Gulf country, one Muslim guy, and his wife lived in India back home with her in-laws. So her father-in-law raped her, and she got pregnant. So she got pregnant. So the case went to the Sharia court in UP. I guess they went to the Maulvi, and the Maulvi gave a verdict that he made the son divorce the wife and marry the father.
Right.
So it was more or less now his wife became his mother, stepmother.
Yeah, it's like Prophet Muhammad's ex-daughter-in-law becoming his wife.
Yeah, so I had read.
It's all messed up. It's all messed up. Look, I don't think we can blame Islam for it, because these kind of things happen everywhere. There's some Hindus, people like this. They're everywhere. I've seen so much of messed up stuff. Well, yeah, no, I know you're just sharing the news story.
I'm not blaming Islam. I'm not saying that Islam caused this crime, but what I'm saying is the justice of Islam. That's where it starts, because she was forced to marry a rapist. I don't know if it was her consent there.
Yeah. Well, there's social pressure there. Obviously, that plays part in that as well. If I was looking at a new. Actually, no, I'm not going to say it because I can't remember. It'd be yeah. And okay. Zoe saying, "Yo, Black Lives Matter doesn't mean other lives don't matter. It's just an important movement that needs prominent action presently." Look, Zoe, I totally agree with Black Lives Movement. I didn't mean to denigrate the movement in any shape or form. As I said myself, that there is a violence problem in America, especially with the police, and especially towards people of color. So no, I wasn't denigrating that movement at all. But I was just talking about this funny video that I shared in Pakistan. That how would people react on that? It's just like, hey, put the camera down. No, boom. These guys were undercover police. So in in civilian clothes. But anyway, yeah, sure. Would you like to say anything else?
Yeah, right now, when you were talking about the police here in US, I know sometimes they are very trigger happy, but on the other hand, the other people especially the black population, they also react very angrily to them. So the cops many times feel threatened. But there was a report the other day that FBI has been warning for many years that police in US is aligned with the far right a lot. And as a brown man, somebody was telling me as a brown people, we are like honorary white people here. So we don't face as much, like I have seen in New York, in some neighborhoods. This incident happened in my friend's neighborhood, and he was buying a house. No, he lived in the neighborhood. There was another black doctor. He was buying a house, and the contract was almost final and everything. So other neighbors in the neighborhood, they went to the broker and they told him to cancel the deal. Otherwise, he won't be able to sell any houses in the neighborhood. So just because it was black, so racism is very well alive here.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I have been stopped multiple times by cops and let go. If you just talk nicely to them, politely to them, admit what you did.
Yeah.
So
yeah, look, I mean, I totally get it. And I'm not one of those people who would just discredit the fact that blacks have suffered for so long and the socioeconomic problems as well. And because of the same reason, some well-educated blacks end up getting killed as well, because when we have such overwhelming distribution of, I'm not going to go there. It's going to get me in trouble. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you, Tap. See, Harris Sultan is also scared of touching certain topics, feminism and race issues in United States, because there are some problems. All right, so who else is there that I want to talk to? Kanishk Quotes.
Good evening.
Hi. What would you like to say, Kanishk?
No, I'm just a fan, but I do have a question. That I do see videos of madrasas where the young children in villages of Pakistan, they're memorizing Quran.
I'll talk about this. Yeah, I've got a video. I forgot to talk about it. Yeah, go on.
Mm-hmm. So my question is, are they even taught Arabic as a language or no?
No, not as a language. No, they're just told to memorize these verses. That's what they're taught.
So they are memorizing a book of noise.
Yeah, well, so these Hafiz-e Qurans who have memorized the Quran off their heart, they know it in Arabic without actually knowing the Arabic. It's like they've just turned them into parrots. So some people, out of their own interest, they read it with translation, but obviously when you go down that rabbit hole, you don't understand what the verses are all about. So then you have to read an exegesis or an opinion of a certain scholar, and then you find something problematic, then you try to find a scholar that makes sense to you. So Quran is a terribly written book. It just doesn't make any sense. You have to get the opinions of earlier scholars to make sense out of it. They're just random quotes. You just don't know what's the context. Why is this guy saying this? So
yeah, Tariq Patay have said that it's not in chronological order and it has been jumbled up together or something.
Yeah, it's not in chronological order. It is all jumbled up. But even if it was in chronological order, yeah, it might have made more sense if it was in chronological order, because then we could have drawn a picture of Muhammad's life, because we know that he was making up these verses as he went along. So now he wants to marry his daughter-in-law. Yeah, all right, I got the verse. And now he wants to. He's living in Mecca, so he's not proposing aggressive warfare against the infidels. But now he's out of Mecca. Now he's angry at them. Now he wants to make some money. And then he says, "Okay, God is telling me to attack the caravans to recompensate myself." So, so if he wasn't, he's done that actually. If he was in that order, then you could actually see, okay, that's the. So I think someone should actually do it, but there are massive disagreements that which verses came out at what time. But it would be a monumental effort if someone actually tried to put the Quran in chronological order.
How long does it take for a child in like a village madrasa to
I think it's
graduate
7 years. I think it's 7 years. I think the
Oh
certain
my God.
course is the last 7 years. Yeah, it's a
That's
tough book.
not
Again, you have to. Again, you have to. But you're taught other things as well. But I think to memorize the Quran, it takes probably a year or so. Some people have exceptional kids have broken the records, but they. It's just that explains to you that a book about that thick, it takes you 1 year to memorize it. That tells you
No,
that
but
these
if you
kids have
don't
no idea
understand
about
the
the language.
language, if you don't understand the language, you're memorizing it phonetically. You are memorizing
Yeah, well,
noise. Any language
yeah,
you
because
don't
you get
understand. Noise.
because you get the creator of billions of galaxies gives you extra credit points for memorizing it and for saying it in Arabic because his favorite language is Arabic. But
Okay, but
anyway,
what
all
about this
right.
Ghazi guy? When Muhammad came to his dream to shoot this dude, was he talking to him in Punjabi, Saraiki? What language was he talking to him?
I don't know, bro. I don't know. He probably, there's another video I forgot to add. Oh, yeah, no, it's in my other computer.
Yeah, I'm giving you
There's
content.
a video. There's a video of Tariq Jamil where he's saying that Muhammad Ali Jinnah came to my dream and he told me to suck on my fingers.
Oh wow! I think he misheard fingers. He was wanting him to suck somewhere else. Who knows?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. That would have made more sense. And he said, I put Muhammad Ali Jinnah's fingers, the founder of Pakistan, I put his fingers in my mouth and I sucked on it. And then when I woke up, the sweetness was still in my mouth. I don't know what it was. Yeah. Anyway, these guys are just stupid. They're selling dreams and they're just talking crap.
I think
And
that was something else. Maybe this was like the dark alley adventure. I don't know. Like, why would a finger give you juice in your mouth with certain flavor?
well,
Was it a
I don't know.
finger?
Yeah, it could happen. It could happen. Maybe that tells me there's weird sexual fantasies. I mean, why two fingers? Why? What's with the finger? Why didn't he say just kiss me on my cheek or kiss me on my hand? But no, suck on these two fingers. You
I
suck
think
on
he
them.
was sucking him when he got the whole jizz and all that. It's just he wanted to make it family friendly, so he like brought the fingers in.
Whatever. Anyway, all right, man. Thank you very much for coming. Cheers.
No problem.
All right. Chili juice and now Jinnah juice. Harris first. They had chili juice, now Jinnah juice. Yes, Muhammad Ali Jinnah's juice. Jerry, I'm aware. I'm surprised you know Muhammad Ali Jinnah. All right, so now we've got... Okay, Talal, you haven't told me that if you've got your voice changer on, because I can't take you on if you don't have your voice changer on. I can't hide these videos. People can hear you. And Australopithecus.
Hello,
Welcome.
sir.
Welcome.
Hello, sir.
Welcome to our time. How does it feel? Is the Earth's atmosphere any different from 3 million years ago or however long ago you existed?
I think Earth has become much more violent than before.
Oh, bullshit! Come on, you guys used to eat each other up for just poking the wrong sexual partner, for instance. Come on, you guys used to eat everyone up.
I mean, there was at least there was a morality between us, which is now at least the Australopithecus have morality between them. But in human, there is no morality. Human kill another human just for no reason. That there is no any valid reason.
Well, they do have. I'm sure any murderer, if you ask any murderer, I'm sure he had his reasons. Whether those reasons are acceptable to us or not, fair enough. I get your point. What would you like to say?
Sir, actually, I am from India, and the fact is that I am a Hindu, and Hindu, but not like I am an atheist as well. So
Hindu
not like that. Yes, and I am also a Brahmin. So the fact is that in India, what Muslims do is that they actually made a list of different Hindu castes like Brahmin, Sudra, Vaishnav, and what they do is they actually give money to the people to convert to Islam.
Ooh.
They give more money if a Brahmin get converted to Islam,
All
and
right. So
least
you have a
money.
hierarchy as well.
Yes, yes,
So
there is a
you are
hierarchy
more
of it.
you are more in demand than a low caste Shudra or something, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Oh,
Actually,
well
there is
done.
a priority between caste
Well
for
done.
to become Islam, and yeah, yes, and they do, and the Dawa strategy is something different from that of America. In India, what they do is, for example, when I was in 18 or 19, some Muslim guys, just like in the mosque, they said to me, become Muslim, because if you become Muslim, then you can have 4 wives. But if you remain Hindu, then you can't have that. And even if you go to Jannah, you will get 72 virgins. Like this kind of, they use this kind of strategy to convert Hindus to Muslim. And
Right.
and the fact is that in India, what we have, it's like there is very least Muslim that are educated, and we have little bastis in Muslim, and they, you know, grow up their daughters like the way that they already knew that they are the slave of someone, and whenever some Hindu or other religion get converted to Islam, what they do, they get immediately married to that person and say that now you have become Muslim, so you can enjoy our daughter. So, it's a kind of slavery, what they do.
All right. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on in your community, so I can't really comment on that. But anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts. All right.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. I don't know what that was all about, but fair enough. I've got Rocky. Actually, no, hang on. I'll take Shudra Indian. I think he might have something to say on this last caller.
Hello,
Hi.
hello, Harris. How are you?
I'm very good. What would you like to say today?
Yeah, Harris. There is a delay of like 2 seconds, so I may take a little time after you reply. It'll take at least 2 minutes, 2 seconds time for me to stop. So please bear with me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, Harris. Now people like you, you're doing a good job. You and Ghalib bhai. But you have put us, people like us, in a small dilemma. So the problem here is, I'll explain it to you first. We Shudras, basically SCs, have been staying with Muslims for a long time, like together. So every time there used to be a riot, we were the one who used to beat them up. So this is a fact. Sometimes we also had our own casualties. So now what happened is, in due course of time, because of the whole Ambedkarite movement, I hope you must be aware of the Ambedkarite movement. So because of that movement, the SCs became more. They started taking education. They became more civilized. We basically. And now we are turning the Muslims into liberals. We are taking them in our fold. We are helping them to become less radicalized. Not like you. What you're doing is on a total different level. And it started back in 1970s when the first Marathi atheist, his name is Hamid Dalwai, he started an organization called Muslim Satya Shodhak Samaj. Okay, and it was for Muslims to understand the truth. It was basically a rationalist organization. Okay, and then slowly there was a unity, scheduled caste and Muslim unity group started by Haji Mastan, who was a Don, and a Dalit leader called Jogendra Kawade. Okay, anyways, now my question is, what dilemma we are in now? Okay, we somehow have managed to come to a peace with the Muslims, and we are still, because Muslim are also very most of the Muslims are SC or OBC converts, and we've been staying with them for so long, and somehow we are trying to liberalize them, take them in the mainstream. But now when such radical things, for them, your words are radical. When you're saying them, these is again the same thing. It has been used by the right wing, and the same SCs and OBCs are now started questioning the Muslims in a different format. They are almost like attacking them. So whatever work we were doing, what we were doing was with love and with understanding. It has all changed now suddenly, and it has not. The impact is still not there. What you're doing, but looking at the pace you guys are growing, you and Kamal bhai, surely in next 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 months, you will be having 1 lakh subscribers, and down the line, maybe in another year you will have like 10 lakh subscriber, and you will be a household name. That is for sure. You and Galib and other guys, that is going to happen, because at the pace you guys are growing is, but for us it is going to be a problem now. So please help us with this, like how we should tackle, because all that radical stuff you're doing, somewhere our people who are trying to stay, because we stay close. We have our houses attached to the Muslim houses. Sometimes we intermarry and things happen with the SCs. There's a movie by Rajnikant named Kala. If you see that movie, you understand the relation we have with the Muslims. So we want them to be liberalized. We want them to get into mainstream. But how can we handle this? Because the right wing is using your content. They're using it. So what I'm suggesting is just a small you please give like if you're making 50 videos for Muslims, good. Just make 1 or 2 videos where somewhere you are also critically analyzing the social structure in India. So that is my small request. And the same question, please. I want your answer on this, please.
All right. I think we spoke about it last week. I did tell you that, just because that happens as well, I can't stop from correcting my Pakistani society. Unfortunately, that's the way we have to go. I am a native Pakistani. I used to be a Muslim. I have my first and foremost responsibility is to present my modern ideas to the masses of Pakistani people. Let's hope we will have 100,000 subscribers this time next year. Let's hope. I don't know. I've got 50,000 in 52,000 now in Urdu. So I don't know. We're growing at 8,000 a month. And hopefully we'll grow more. But that's my first and foremost priority. I need to de-radicalize Pakistan. And this news story that I shared earlier about Iran, only 32% call themselves Shia Muslims. I don't know what the figure is for Sunnis, but 50% of Iranians used to believe in a God, and now they're ex-Muslims. Those are the kind of stats I want to see coming out of Pakistan as well. And we're going to up the game. Of course, we're going to have along the way, things could get tougher for Indian Muslims, and I feel for them. I've said it before. I don't understand what goes on. If Muslims in India were as innocent as Muslims in Uyghur in Xinjiang in India, in China, then it would have been a lot easier to defend. I have some very passionate Muslims in WhatsApp, and I speak with them quite regularly. And he sends me some stuff about, what happened against Muslims and some terrible atrocities that happened. And then I send them something back where some Muslims were the naughty ones, were the culprits. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? What am I meant to do with that? I don't want to spend my time looking into the Indian social issues. I do talk about it from time to time. I have a whole playlist on my English channel and on my Urdu channel where I specifically talk about my views, my liberal views on that, and whether there are Hindu bhakts who are encroaching that. I've spoken about it countless times. I've lost count now. But what more can I do? Really, what more can I do? We've had some positive response as well, where some Hindu bhakts who used to hate Muslims, who've actually changed their view. One thing over and over again, we keep saying that we're going to attack Islam as much as we can, but we're going to keep it separate from being discriminatory towards Muslims as people. And I mean that. It might be something else when a guy coming from a totally non-Muslim background saying that, you could probably doubt his intention, but you can't doubt my intention, and people believe in that. Why? Because I have my whole family that's Muslim. I've said it numerous times, I would never want anyone to kick my mother just because she's a Muslim. I would never want that to happen. Just like that, I would not want, if my mother was no longer alive, for instance, but I would still not want anyone being bigoted towards Muslims. That's the reason. So I have a personal, I'm personally involved in that too. So there's a difference. What more can I do? Unfortunately, Islam is a terrible ideology. With that, no, we're not going to take our gloves off, and for that we're going to go all hands in. And so far it's working. Look, I know it's your dilemma for you, but this is why I think Hindu secular activists, they need to come out. There's a human science channel. He's got 50,000 subscribers. Go, guys, do check it out. He makes content in Hindi, and very powerful videos he makes. He's very undersubscribed. Do subscribe him. And now he's a true atheist. He doesn't spend most of his time on Islam, but he doesn't sugarcoat Islam either, because he's like, yep, Hari Sultan, Ghalib Kamal, these guys are doing wonderful jobs, so he supports us. But then he's busting the Hindu myths. He's It's just blowing them up, metaphorically speaking. And I think that's what we need. We need more of those guys. But I do see there's a problem in the mainstream Indian the society that, you know, they want to glamorize, glorify their ancient past. For heaven's sake, get out of here. You know, they didn't invent freaking head transplants or MRI machines or spaceships. Get out of there. You know, I don't want. So, you know, I mean, that's something for you to do. Instead of focusing on what we're doing, let us help. If Muslims leave Islam, that would be the best outcome. But if Muslims become de-radicalized and they start taking their religion less seriously, that would be the second best thing. And then these communal problems that you have between Hindus and Muslims, they will go away eventually. But I mean, I'm sorry, I don't have any simple solution to that. Just keep speaking against Hinduism, keep speaking against Islam, and keep speaking against all kinds of dogma. That's the only thing I can say.
Yeah, Harris, I completely agree what you said. But the problem I'm going to say is because, see, even as you said that if Muslims become atheists, the problem will be solved. But in India, the situation is slightly different. We have been having atheist Muslims for a long time. Like Hamid Dalwai was there in 70s. But politicians like RSS or BJP should have taken his advantage, right? They should have said to the world that, okay, listen, this guy is atheist, he's left Islam. And even you should try this, you know. Because this is what is because they're the right Hindus, and it makes sense that if they make some profit out of ex-Muslim, he was an Indian. But it doesn't happen. The BJP and RSS here, they don't want atheist Muslims because that will somehow that will make trouble for them. It will not help them. They want discrimination against Muslims so that the situation is polarized. Okay, I'll give you an example. It's a very funny example. In India, two parties after 2014 elections have come up. The first party is BJP, who has gained many numbers and seats and votes. Second party, interestingly, is Owaisi's party. Owaisi is a MP from Hyderabad. Okay, and the party is AIMIM. So a Muslim party, which is a very radical party, is growing, and with that, a right-wing party, which is BJP, is growing. So you have to say they are hand in gloves. BJP and the right Muslims. They don't want atheist Muslims in India. Even if they have atheist Muslims in India, they're not going to help them or show them that, okay, even Islam is, they want to discriminate Muslims, which I agree, which is not correct, which you'll also agree to it. But then even if atheist Muslims rise in India, the problem is not going to solve. So my request is only this, Haris bhai, whenever you make like 50 videos talking about Islam, just make 2 or 1 video in which you'll critically analyze Hinduism also. That is just a small request I have for you. So that people, when like people from my community, that is scheduled tribe and scheduled caste, when they'll come and watch your videos now, somewhere down the line they'll also see this video where questions have been raised against their faith. So this will also help them. Rather than questioning the Muslims, they'll also question themselves.
Look, I don't have enough knowledge about Hinduism, and I've spoken with a couple of Hindu atheists who can come and talk about these issues themselves. I've volunteered that, but again, I mean, come on, you cannot demand a neurosurgeon to be making videos on heart surgery. You know, it's just one of those things. I mean, I have an official position. Just to maintain balance, I have these playlists, as I said, and there are videos. Hang on, let me share the screen with you. So I recently started doing this, these English streams, and so far we have a look here. I have this on India. I have 5 videos so far. On my Urdu channel, there are far more as well. Obviously, this is I am the expert of this, what I'm doing. I cannot be talking about Ganesh, and I've made fun of those people who say Gaumutri and all that. But anyway, I mean cow urine, and Muslims do camel urine. So I've made fun of those little things. But okay, but anyway, I got your point. Look, I'm trying my best. All right, thank you very much. All right, people. Is everything okay? I mean, can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me? Can someone please tell me you can start your stream? Yeah. Look, I mean, I understand. Again, it's just One of those issues. Okay. Yeah, look, I mean, I'm sorry. I got to fix my country first. I mean, I'm doing my best. I shouldn't even be making one video on India. I shouldn't be in a perfect world. But I understand, and just because of that, I have to. And a lot of Indians come to this channel as well, and that's why I end up colliding with them. Only those videos, the videos that I've actually put up there as well, are also because some Indians, some Hindus come here and they try to tell me how glorious was their ancient past, and then that's where we lock horns. Potato Fries, thank you very much for another super chat. He's saying, why convert into anything? Why not use science and logic and try being better humans first? All religions are mind control strategies. I too believed in the power of a miracle. Believed, he said. Honestly, the only thing which helps you is you. I agree. Why convert into anything? I mean, yeah, I agree. There's nothing to disagree there. Technically, when you do leave religion, people might say you have converted into atheism. Vijay Singh, thank you very much for a super sticker. Okay, what else have we got? All right, so I wanted to make this video. This video came out recently, and a lot of people have been talking about it. So let's have a look at the video. It is distressful. If you don't like violence against children, please. So as you saw, this Molvi, this cleric in a madrasa, beating a little girl with a rubber pipe, beating her up. Obviously, she's probably not learning the lesson as she's expected to. She's not learning the lesson as she's expected to. She's not saying Kullu Allahu Ahad as she's supposed to. She's saying Kulli Allahu Yahiyad. Or she's saying her vocal cords haven't even developed properly yet. But anyway, for whatever, I'm assuming that could be the reason. What else could be the reason? There could be far worse reasons, but I won't go there. But let's say she's not pronouncing the Arabic words correctly, and she's being beaten up for it. What surprises me is that people in Pakistan become outraged. Oh, how dare he beat her up? Why are you surprised? What is there to be surprised? Don't you know? Are you living under a rock? That's exactly what happens in madrasas. Not only they are beaten up physically, but they're actually sexually assaulted as well. Every madrasa, Engineer Muhammad Ali Mirza, a famous Pakistani YouTuber, televangelist, saying that he would be surprised if there is a single madrasa in Pakistan where children are not abused. And I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I actually would be surprised if we do find a madrasa where there's no child abuse. But Pakistanis get, oh, how dare he do that? Oh my God, we thought, things like this don't happen in our wonderful country. Get out of here. So where do these people get that from? That's where they get it from. Have a look at this wonderful golden saying of our dearly beloved, wonderful Prophet Muhammad. That's what he said. The Prophet said, this is a Sahih Hadith, Hasan Sahih Hadith, which is just as good as Sahih Hadith. Command a boy to pray when he reaches the age of 7 years. When he becomes 10 years old, then beat him for prayer. So that girl was roughly around 6-7 years old. But here, obviously, saying command a boy to pray. Command a girl to get married at 9. We know that. So obviously, boys are not getting married. Even the boys might want to get married at 9 or 10 years of age. They wouldn't say no, but girls definitely wouldn't want to get married at 9 years of age. There's another hadith. This is Tirmidhi, another Sahih hadith. It's a collection of books, hadith books, which is considered authentic by Sunni Muslims. One of the 6 books. Here, same thing. Teach the boy salat, which is prayer, when he's 7 years old, and beat him if he does not pray when he's 10. So, of course, these are the golden sayings of your wonderful prophet. Of course, this is what's going to happen. Of course, that's going to happen. my surprise is, why are people getting surprised in that? So they need a major overhaul of that in Pakistan. The major overhaul of madrasas and school systems. Even when I went to a Christian school, and obviously in the 90s I was growing up, yeah, we used to get beat up as well. Well, not beaten up. We used to get caned. I spoke about we had a teacher, Sir Cyril. He was a maths and physics teacher. He used to slap us on the cheek if you haven't memorized, if you haven't learned our lessons. Not the textbook lesson. If you haven't learned that, then we'll get beaten up, slapped. We had Sir Nadeem. He was also one of our, I think he was a chemistry teacher. He used to put us in a line, and then he would cane us on our bumps. I remember a funny incident. All of us boys, our teacher was late, so we ended up we ran to the playground and started playing cricket there without any authorization from any teacher. So Sir Nadeem came in later on. He was a Christian as well, but his name was Nadeem. So he came. He called us in. All of us 11 boys. He made us stand in a line, and you're facing the wall, and you know what's coming behind you, and you're hearing this pa 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 pa, and you're getting caned on the bum. So I was like 9th or 10th guy in the line, and Sir Nadeem is going boom 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 boom, and when it came to my turn, I stepped a little bit forward, so the guy next to me, he got caned twice. The guy on my right side, because I moved a little bit forward, so I got very little end of the cane, and the guy on my left, I got that guy got the brunt of the cane twice. So and I laughed at it later, but anyway, it's not funny. Some people might get distressed over it, that it was child abuse, but look, we turned out all right. It was different times and different upbringing, but I know that in Pakistan now, good schools don't allow that, but in madrasas, yes, it happens a lot. All right, guys. Any Muslims here? I want to talk about Islamic issues, please.
Hello, Harris. Can you
Hello,
hear
Umar.
me?
I can hear you. Your voice has changed. Good. Well done.
All right. Please let me finish speaking before you reply.
Okay.
I would like to ask, what is difference between hate crime and what happened in Sweden? Those people who burned the Quran are charged with hate crime. Does intent matter? Because they wanted to incite violence, so was it okay to capture them for hate crime? If you and I would burn Quran or eat it, we would like to show this book is just a book, so how government should decide what is hate crime and what is freedom of speech.
Okay. I must be speaking with Stephen Hawking. Are you back? Are you back, Stephen Hawking? Professor, I've been a huge fan. Intent always matters, but it also matters what you're doing, whether that is illegal or not. We know if I burn the Quran, we know that there's going to be a reaction on the other side. The only way for the other side not to get sucked into it is not get offended, or at least don't burn the cities. So the right wingers, I don't agree with it. They shouldn't be charged. That's just bullshit. They shouldn't be charged with hate crime or anything. They did something to provoke a group of people. We know that that's the trigger point. We know that. Tough luck. We criticizing Islam itself is a sign of provocation. We are provoking Muslims because we're criticizing Muhammad and we're criticizing Islam. So if people start burning cities and saying that shut down these ex-Muslim YouTube accounts, and YouTube might actually shut us down, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay, we can get away with this." The intent, they can easily accuse you of our intent of Harris is to provoke people. To some extent, we know they're going to get provoked. My intent is people to leave Islam, but they're not going to leave Islam just first time they look at Har Sultan's video on false prophecies of Muhammad and Har Sultan making jokes, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, I'm leaving Islam because Har Sultan said so. No, they're going to get offended. They're going to react. They're going to be provoked. And some of the people are going to watch me consistently long enough, and then going to change the point. Now let's come back to the right-wingers. They're under no obligation to change the hearts and mind of Muslims. They have their own agenda. They want to stop Muslim migration. They want to show their audience that this is how they react. You can't take away the freedom of expression. It still comes under freedom of expression. There's not freedom of speech, there's freedom of expression. I'm expressing my dissent towards Quran, my disgust towards Quran, and they're burning it. So they're showing that by burning it, and they know that what kind of response they're going to get, and that's exactly playing in their own hands, and that's what they did. They played in their hands. 300 rioters, they burnt the city down, and what happened? How is that going to play out for the rest of the Muslim population in Sweden? I reckon if you want to say that there are the hardcore Muslims who would literally take action, like those 300, and then there's there's so many peaceful Muslims who wouldn't. We know that those peaceful Muslims would not do it, but they should be coming out. Not doing anything, staying quiet is not enough anymore. Not only this, they should. Obviously, that's a good thing they're not doing it. They're not actively taking part in that. But that's not good enough. They actually need to go further towards the left, and they need to say, we condemn these people. That's what they need to do. And we know that people started condemning Osama bin Laden. They started condemning terrorist activities. The narrative changed. When September 11 had happened, I heard so many intelligent, progressive Muslims used to make excuses for Osama bin Laden for taking down 2 buildings. Oh, well, America, look, Palestine, what they're doing. Why don't they help us in Kashmir? You know, those kind of things, people would make excuses. So that staying quiet is just not good enough. They need to come out. Why is Yasir Qadi? Why is Shabir Ali? Why are these guys, if they have since made a tweet, I don't know. Why major Muslims are not saying that, yeah, we don't agree with these right-wing nut jobs. Well, screw them. Just imagine these Muslim scholars, collectively, they have 10 million Twitter followers, let's just say. All the major ones. They all say, we as Muslims living in Western countries can never condone this kind of action. Take legal action against these guys, make petitions, online petitions, campaign against them, do all of that, but don't burn down cities. Just imagine that. Those 10 million people get the message from them, and those 10 million will actually spread that further. That could become 100 million in amongst the Muslim community living in Western countries. Just imagine how powerful that would be. But no, they're not talking. They're not saying anything. Yeah.
It took time to change the narrative, and we know there will be reaction, but question is for the government, because it is a thin line. Where does freedom of expression start then? Now government of Sweden think it was hate crime, but we think it was not. So what should we do then?
Well, I think... sorry, let me put you on mute. Well, I think the thin line, line is very clear. The moment it goes towards violence, and violence is not just physical violence against human beings, but also towards their livelihoods. If someone burns the book, happens to be Quran, it's his property, he can burn it. I would keep saying that is distasteful, and the intent matters what they're trying to do it for. You can't stop them. That's just a small price we pay for freedom of speech. You just cannot translate that, use that as an excuse, and start burning buildings. So I reckon those 300 rioters should be arrested. This guy should... I don't think any action should be taken against this guy. Pin him for other things. Pin him for hate speech, where he said some other nasty stuff. If he said those nasty stuff, pin him for that, but you can't get him on that.
All right. Thank you for taking me in.
All right. That was drunk Stephen Hawking. By the way, I don't know what software he's using, but anyway, okay, we've got Kiki here. Kiki,
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. I want to try. These comments are really comical, eh? They're talking about morality, and this other person, science person, was going on. Turned out to be a closeted Zakir Naik. Anyways, so morality and veganism. Yeah, veganism is because recently you talked about animal cruelty and everything. So one of my questions is, does veganism matter at the expense of human nutrition currently? Because so many vegans have become ex-vegans, including me. Gains in nutrition is difficult to maintain. If humans are the most intelligent living beings on earth, then everything should happen for humans' benefit. And veganism acts as an obstacle to full human nutritional benefit. Example, vitamin B12, etc. Because if morality is subjective, then we get to dictate the rules. Therefore, if proper supplements don't exist, then there is no reason to stop meat consumption, because as humans, we are our first and highest priority.
Right. Okay. Is that it? All right. I'll look. I have no argument against the fact that we have a right to be selfish as a human species. I've said it before that if there is a lion approaching, even though lions are my favorite animals, if there's a lion approaching a random human being that I don't know of, I will shoot the lion. That's just the way it is. What lion could be like, why me, bro? A lion could say that. But there is a little. It gets even more complicated. My dogs, especially my little one, my little dog, and if there's a human drowning and there's a dog drowning, my dog is dear to me. Human, I don't know this person, or maybe I don't even like that person. Let's just say he's a bully. I just don't like. Let's say Muhammad Hijab. Let's say Muhammad Hijab is drowning and my dog is drowning. I'll get in trouble. No, okay. Unfortunately, as a human being, I will have to first try to rescue Muhammad Hijab. Forget about what he's saying. He would push me down. He'd be like, "Oh, you came. I was just pretending to drown. Here, boom." He's bigger than me, so he'd be pushing me down. I'd be like, "Oh, come on, man." So anyway, so we have this right. We got to be like that, and that's the line we've drawn, right? But now let's come to the actual consuming animals. I've always said that my problem with animal eating is just the pure fact, not environment, not my own health, the pure fact that inducing suffering on animals, is it ethical or not? I just can't get my head around that. Now you talk about, okay, I'm not saying that, like if you cannot survive, if you're going to die, if you don't eat meat, yeah, okay, fair enough. Keep eating meat. Your life is more important. That's the reason why I gave that analogy of hypothetical. That who would you save? Yes, when it comes to saving a life between a human and an animal, we have to pick the life of a human. That's just the way it is. Even if it's a disgusting human being like Muhammad Hijab as well, we still have to do it. But is it really though that we can't get all the necessary supplements and all the ingredients that we need to survive and operate as healthy human beings? There's so many vegans who've stayed vegans for such a long period of time, and they're actually doing fine. Vitamin B12 is a common one. You can get supplements for it. You can get supplements. Okay, if you're lost in an island, I don't think you'll be living by any moral code at that point. You'll be killing everything that you can to survive. But the world we live in, we can get all these supplements as well. When we work out, even meat eaters, they get these protein shakes because you want to maximize your protein intake. So we are getting artificial help anyway. So this is my whole. I don't know. I think it's been 4 weeks or nearly 3. When was Eid al-Adha? So again, I said that I always felt a bit of a hypocrite that I'm criticizing others for eating meat, but I'm only making an exception with chicken. And since I eat the other day again, I've quit that. I'm going strong. No animal products, perfectly fine. It's been 3 weeks. I haven't noticed anything. Again, I haven't had any vitamins checked as well. I haven't been to the gym either, so I don't know how my body would react again. But I think there's so many other people, far more athletic people. They've proven that you can live as a vegan. So if we can, why not? And supplements is the answer.
Yes, supplements is the answer. I was thinking that after a few years' time, when lab meats are produced, then it will be more possible.
Oh yeah, look, I've said it so many times before that's bound to happen. It's going to happen, and we're just waiting for it. When I think what current cost is like $1,000 a kilo or something. No, $100 a kilo. I think it broke down. I don't know. But imagine $20 burger. Well, in Australia we still have $20 burgers. I mean, good burgers like Grilled and some others. They cost $20 to get a decent meal deal. So yeah, imagine $25 fake chicken burger, fake beef burger, the spicy chili one. Oh yeah, I'll destroy that. But that'll be synthetic meat. Yeah, sure, why not? But unfortunately, Muslims will still have problems. It's so funny. I was telling my mum about it. I said, Mum, this faux meat where you can get, those vegan ones, they're not synthetic meat, but it's like they just do something with it. These food scientists are so clever that it actually tastes like chicken, but it's not. It's just made of some random crap. So I was telling my mom, I was like, Mom, look at this. I'm going to make it for you. And my mom, like, I could see the expressions on her face were changing. She was like, I was like, why? This is vegetables. There's no halal haram in vegetables. She was like, no, I don't know what they've done to it. So she would rather eat an animal than these vegetables that taste just like chicken. So I understand that, I understand. So I mean, I didn't force her to eat that, but I understand a lot of people. But again, unfortunately, Muslims will still be the last ones to get off that boat. When synthetic meat would be popular all over the world, unfortunately, we'll have one group of people, Muslims, and then progressive Muslims will adopt to it, and then at the end there'll be radical ones, but they will be the last ones to say, okay, they would insist on hunting and killing animals when they don't have to.
Okay, the next question is the thing about people who leave faith and everything is existential nihilism. So the question is, what is the antidote to existential nihilism? How does one prevent themselves from getting depressed that nothing matters and the universe is how it is, of pure matter, and there's no life after death? Is it by having a family and community and living for experiences and as a hedonist just for maximizing life's pleasures and minimizing life's suffering?
I reckon that's the only solution. I haven't shared this story, but this happened to me a long time ago, and I wasn't even an atheist at that point. But I've said it before that looking at the stars and the vastness of the universe has always fascinated me. And there was a day, I don't know, maybe 16, 17 years ago, I was at my friend's house, and this is the only time I had a puff of marijuana. So we were drinking, and I had a puff of marijuana, and all of a sudden, I became depressed. I'm outside, I'm looking at the stars. I'm in the balcony, a 6-story building, and I'm looking up, and I'm like, and I had my 2 friends, Michael and Luke, with me. And I'm looking up, I'm like, oh shit, this universe is so huge. I don't know what happened. I was like, this universe is so huge. We're so tiny. We're so puny. What's going to happen? The whole world is going to come to an end, and nobody would know who we are. And I've often said that happens. But at that very moment, it just scared me so much. I took off all my clothes, butt naked, even down to my underwear. I don't know why. My friends were laughing at me. They were like, oh, he can't handle marijuana. And I was like, okay. And then I thought, what's the point of living? I don't want to live to the day when, planet is being ripped, ripped to shreds, and then that would be a very depressing thought. Imagine if we have been given a time frame that there's a black hole or there's Death Star approaching us, and it's just going to destroy the whole solar system. We'll see the pyramids being sucked into space, and imagine being there at the earthquakes and the whole humanity. Forget about humanity. The whole planet is going to be destroyed. That'd be a very depressing thought. I think a lot of people will commit suicide. People are committing suicide now in this friggin' pandemic thing, and it's not even, we know that it'll be over soon. But imagine that. So anyway, I'm imagining all of that. I'm very young at that time, and I'm like, I want to jump. I want to jump over the balcony. So I don't know whether I would have done it or not, but because I was acting so stupidly, I actually did go to so my friends grabbed me and they just tied me to a chair, and they were like, "Oh, Harry just lost his mind." And then I calmed down, and I woke up, and I was like, "Oh boy, what was that?" And so anyway, so then that could be the only incident of where I thought, okay, what is that? And then I looked at it. It's like, man, there's so many scientists who know much more than me. They're enjoying, beautiful dinners and dating people. And I was single at that time. There's so much to life that's so beautiful, and most likely nothing's going to happen for another million years or something, or maybe a billion years. It's going to take sun to blow up, turn into a red giant in a billion years' time. So and then I got over it most time. But I do see people go into, what's the freaking point? Yeah, well, what's the point? I mean, what's stopping you from finding a point to your life? I find I just started 3 years ago, but before that, I had a point. I was doing 9 to 5. I was going to an office, and I got a partner, I built this house. I was doing other stuff. I played cricket on the weekends. Speaking of cricket, there's cricket going on right now, and Babar Azam is doing well. So that's what we're doing, right? And I was fine. I'm not thinking about a black hole is coming and going to destroy. What's the freaking point? What's the freaking point? We're gonna know. And I think I became brave to a sense that I grabbed the bull by its horn. That I know that I'm at that point. I was 22, 23. Now I'm 36. If I stay cancer free or something, I'll live for another 30 years or so, and then I'm gonna die. Big freaking deal. Billions and billions of people have died before me. They lived their lives. Some lived in utter misery. Some lived wonderful lives. They lived, but they're dead. That's fine. So what? I just don't understand the concept. So I've spoken about it so many times before. I made a very emotional video about what's the purpose of life, because a lot of ex-Muslims go into that. I reckon they only go into that initially. They only go into that part, what's the point, initially, because it's like a person who's in love with a beautiful girl. It's like, hey, I'm gonna marry her. I'm gonna make tons of babies, and then my babies are gonna have more babies, and I'm gonna live to the old age. And then all of a sudden you realize that girl she doesn't even know that you're in love with her, and then she says, "Get out of here, you creep." And you're like, oh, what's the point of living? I will kill myself. So that's what happens with people. That's when reality slaps them in the face and says, wake up. So that's what atheism is. Wake up. There's no big brother in the sky. There's no heaven. There's no 72 virgins. This is all bullshit. Initially, it's like, oh, I lost the love of my life. What I'm going to do with the remaining 50 years of my life. That's that initial reaction. But then, like most things, most normal people, they get over it. We've all been through messy breakups. You can get over it. You're like, yeah, okay. Now you look back and you laugh at her. I was crazy about her. You think about that these days, and you move on. So that's exactly what happens with that. I don't know any ex-Muslim or any atheist who is consistently depressed, pondering on that question. They go through a phase, a year, 2 years, maybe. That's very long as well, 2 years. But people go through that phase. But I think eventually it's a human nature to be, unless you're obviously clinically depressed about other things and that's been triggered by it, that's totally different. Then you need other types of support. But if you haven't had depression problem before, I don't think you're going to wake up and realize, oh, there's no God. Oh, I'm depressed. I'm going to kill myself. Or consistently you keep thinking that. That doesn't happen. In my experience, that hasn't happened to anyone.
Okay, that makes sense. Because one of the things I wanted to ask you personal advice also regarding this, so regarding a family and children and experience of life, etc. How is it necessary for a person to follow that sort of culture? How do you
Sorry, say
make
it
it
again.
work? What do you do daily? How do you example people? One of the biggest reasons. So I'm also an anti-natalist as well. I don't know if you know,
I know
what that means.
I haven't got any kids either, but
And I know
I'm not
you.
an anti-natalist. But anyway, go on.
So how do you? What do you do in life? what does a person? What activities do they fill their life with?
Right. Okay. So I don't have any kids. I wanted to have kids when I was younger, but my partner didn't want kids at that time. But now, now we've agreed that we don't want to have kids. The only reason I think about it is, as you grow older, I think you become more addicted to your own habits. I love my freedom whatever I do. I mean, me and my partner, we can, if it wasn't for pandemic, we just planned holidays out of nowhere. Like, let's go to that country. We wouldn't be able to do that having kids. So that's the reason why I don't have kids. And I'm not an anti-natalist. I'm all for it. Go populate the earth. I even tell atheists to make more babies, like Prophet Muhammad used to say to his believers, and make more babies so we can have more Muslims. And I say, make more atheist babies so we can have more atheists in the world. But hypocrisy maybe, because I'm not doing it, but I have other reasons. But what do you do? Can't you just appreciate a warm, sunny day? Can't you appreciate a beautiful day at a beach? You're just lying, no worries in the world. You've got a bottle of Corona in your hand, and you're just looking at the waves. And if you're into other things, you can see the beauty around you. There's so many things you can, and if you can't do it, again, these are luxuries of people who are comfortable in their lives. But there's some cheap luxuries in life as well. As I said, if you work 4 or 5 days a week, then you can, then you can spend a good weekend. I mean, as I said, I play cricket on my weekends. I go to gym. There's so many other things I know that I'm going to shrink. My muscles are going to shrink. My joints are going to hurt more and more as I get older. And then eventually I'm going to die. I might end up getting cancer at some stage, and I might have to make a decision that I don't want to go through this painful chemotherapy. Just give me an injection and I can just leave this world. I know that's going to happen, but why don't we think about those things? And if you remember your 20s, you would jump off the tallest cliff straight into a lake or whatever body of water you have. You'd be like, yeah, I'm invincible. I'm Superman. I can't get hurt. And then slowly you become more careful about your injuries. And these things are totally natural, but I just don't understand why we cannot not appreciate just simple things in life. Sometimes I'm not a poet, but sometimes I just walk through this. I mean, it helps. There's so much beauty around me as well where I live. And then unfortunately, Karachi is underwater these days. And what are those guys going to do? They come out and there's water that's waist high. What are they going to do? But then, other than that, I go out, I walk through a park, I listen to birds, I see a blue sky and these beautiful trees. I'm like, this is heaven. That alone, maybe I'm easy to be pleased, maybe. But those are the things and I'm sure every human can appreciate those things, especially if you don't do that often enough. So, I'm not a poet. I mean, I can't tell you, I can't play with words what you can do. But I think there's so much beauty in the world. We can travel. I know it's still expensive, but you can travel. You go to when I go to another country, I can listen to people. I don't understand what they're saying. I go to Italy, I can see people talking in Italian. I'm just eavesdropping. And they're thinking, who's this creep? What's this creep doing listening to it? But they don't know that. They probably know that he's a foreigner and he doesn't understand. And I'm like, I love it. I just love it. I'm just like, wow, look at these people. They live in their own world. They've got no idea about other things, just like I have no idea about their things. So I don't know. I'm sure you can find so many other things. If you are constantly thinking about what's the point, then I think you don't need a motivational speaker. I think you need a psychiatrist.
What about old age? How do you plan on going through that? Because a lot of people use the argument that in old age, children help support at that time with um, psychologically and sometimes physically as well. If a person has to go to hospital or is bedridden, how do you vision your future of going through that?
Yeah, right. I mean, I have often thought about it, and people say, you know, my traditional parents, they tell me that, oh, you got to make kids who's going to look after you when you're old. And I say, I'm never getting old. You know, I just joke about it. But my parents, you know, like, I mean, they know that I love them and I look after them, and I will look after them if they are bedridden or whatnot. But they worry that who's going to do that with me or with us. My mother-in-law recently passed away, and she's got 4 kids. My partner's got the 4 siblings, and they looked after her. She had ALS disease, the one Stephen Hawking had. She was totally bedridden, couldn't move, and then 24 hours, her children looked after her. Again, a myth. People say, oh, white people don't love their parents. They throw them in old houses. Pathetic idiots. But anyway, so these guys did that. So my parent thinks that, oh, you know, who's going to look after you when you're old? And I'm like, you know, I do live in a good country. I think I'll be all right living in an old, in a nursing home where I need better care. Because, you know, this is a myth as well. People think that white people do that with others and they dump them in nursing homes. There comes a point when, because these people live so much longer, there comes a point when they cannot go to the bathroom. They have severe cases of dementia and they cannot remember anything. At that time, it's actually best for them to be living in a nursing home where they get 24-hour care. A son who's trying to pay the mortgage, who's living in a house, or even if he's paid the mortgage or not, he puts his life on hold. If he can't manage, you can get better care in a nursing home. And in nursing homes, obviously, you know, there's a biosafe environment, and you can socialize with other oldies out there. So I think I'll be all right. If I do live a very old age, up to an old age, I think I'd be all right. I wouldn't need kids wiping my bum. You know, I'd rather have a nice nurse doing that. Right.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing, I think one of the videos also communicated that, yeah, you're a good comedian. By the way, your work is bloody firing up. 50K subs, 30K subs. Damn, man, your work is in demand.
It's not really that. I mean, I'm still a very small fish, but I know I will share the statistics on my Facebook that we did have I'll end up with 2.5 million views in the month of August on my Urdu channel. 2.5 million. I think that's something. I think that's quite something, and I think 30% of them came from Pakistan itself. So yeah, I think it'd be
the
all right.
other thing is that, yeah, I think also just watching these kind of videos or absorbing or consuming such material is not enough. It is important for people to come out themselves and start talking about their experiences, because eventually it comes at a time where they have to, each individual has to live to their own potential. They have to start talking about this and changing laws, changing perceptions towards such types of people. Just watching videos, consuming material is not enough.
I think, yeah, look, I mean, different things work for different people. And you're right. Videos, again, I put out so many videos on my Urdu channel, 4 videos a day, 6, 7 minutes, 10 minutes each. I can't expect everyone, even some of my loyal fans, to watch all of those videos either. It's just too much. And you know why? There's a strategy behind it. And I was talking to Ghalib about it. I said, we're going to bombard them with so much ID, so much. What are they going to respond? So there's some people, there's some dedicated channels that started just to respond to me. Good luck, bro. You know, I mean, how many videos? You'll be doing that all day. You'll be doing that. But they can't. So they have to move on. So what that does is that the people ranging from what are Harris's views on morality, ethics, animal relationships, on incest they're obsessed with, the nihilism or what does he say about this and that? They can all find it. I mean, I was talking to Ghalib, are we going to run out of content? No, but now that's why I diversified a little bit, and now I talk about the current issues. So they know. When you watch someone long enough, you realize what he would actually say about a certain topic. I mean, I said that I almost did a PhD in Richard Dawkins. I watched hundreds of hours of that. So I know what he would say on certain topics. I think I know, even though I haven't heard of him. And I think I tested that on what he said about eating animals himself. I hadn't read anything about it in his books, but I knew what he would say. And that's exactly what he ended up saying. He said that he would wish that he was more ethically consistent as this guy he was speaking with, and he said he's afraid he's a bit of hypocrite in that, because he does consume meat only when he goes out. So that also showed me, and that's exactly what I was doing. I felt like a hypocrite, even though I was just eating chicken once or twice a week, because I felt the need that I need to eat it. But that's exactly what Dawkins was saying that too, and I thought I knew that's what he would say. And when I came across that interview and I found that, I said, "Oh, okay, I knew that." so that's what we're doing when we're putting out so much content. When people who do watch it, they'll be like, "Oh," they just get a clearer picture, so they know that we don't have horns over our head. We're not devils. We're not just banging goats. So that's the kind of thing. So anyway.
Okay, in morality, how is it defined? Because as you said, is an existential nihilist, and what you did when you took off all your clothes and everything. How does one decide? Because then it just becomes like a bloody jungle, that everything is free for its own. The strongest survive, the fittest survive. Then empathy. Is it essential, or is it important to even have empathy? Does it even matter? Why not just go out there? Obviously, in today's time, not physically, but economically and mentally, just go out there and gain more financial wealth, even if it's at the expense of other businesses in markets or industries. How does one draw a line? How does one find a sort of a guideline to morality?
Well, first of all, we know that what happens in nature doesn't mean that we have to do it ourselves as well. It's a no-brainer. I mean, it's a done and dusted kind of an argument. What happens in nature, we don't do. Some guy was telling me about, what about the old age-old lion argument? What about lion eats gazelles as well? What about that? I was like, well, lions, when they take over a pride, they also kill cubs from the previous pride owner, the king of the pride. That happens in nature too, but do we do that? Like if imagine you marry a new a woman, and then you say, well, sorry, I'm not going to marry unless I kill your children with the previous guy. But lions do that, but we don't do that in our human system. So what happens in nature, we don't have to do that. Now, we know that nature is cruel. We want to make an artificial society. So how do we make it better? Nothing stays static for long. Nothing. It just doesn't. Even if you make a law today, no matter how benign it might look, it would actually improve. We will improve on that. Sometimes you wonder, can we improve any more than that? And that's what we're seeing in the woke culture, where the people, so the classic liberalism of the 70s and the 80s, and we have equal human rights, LGBTQ now, and then all humans should have equal rights. But now, they're going overboard with that, and they're going, okay, what else do we do? And they want to, because they love minorities so much, that they are saying, okay, we'll take the evil aspects of the minority as well. Hang on, so because they don't want to be harsh or strident towards minorities. So that's why. So nothing remains static. So what do we do after that? We are going to improve on that. We have decided that we're going to create a society that's better for everyone. That's the difference between developed countries and third world countries. Third world countries, pecking order. Yep, I'm just going to do whatever I do. I don't care about the poor people. But government, the capitalist system is also, some people say, it's exploitation of the poorer people, of the working class people. But unfortunately, we haven't been able to come up with a better system yet. There's some other countries where we do have a welfare system where we look after the poorer people, but they still are poor anyway. They're not on your welfare check, you cannot go and buy a Lamborghini. Fair enough. So wealth is limited, and we need poor people as well for consumerism, and it's a messy business, but we can only try to improve it as to the best of our abilities. I was thinking, there was Norway. Norway has this fund, which again, kudos to Norwegian government. When they discovered oil, they have this $1 trillion in cash, and they have this fund which is just invested in Silicon Valley and all these and I think something you seem to know about it. So each Norwegian citizen,
Wealth Sovereign Fund.
Yeah, Wealth Sovereign Fund. But each Norwegian citizen has something like $200,000 in that fund or something. Yeah, something like that. But no one can touch that, which is good enough. So they're like, okay, we're making money from it, and we're gonna spend it on roads and taxes and welfare and whatnot. But imagine somebody said, no, I'm about to die in 5 years. I've been diagnosed with cancer. Give me my freaking 200 grand so I can, just go and blow it up. But no, sorry, you can't do it. But again, the point is, some other countries don't have that luxury. Pakistan doesn't have $1 trillion in bank account, and it's a poor country. So, but Norwegian companies thought, okay, how do we improve on that? What can we do for the best? I mean, some corrupt politicians could have helped themselves with $1 billion. Oh, nobody would notice $1 billion. So they didn't do it. So, that's just the way it is. And we want to improve our society, and there's something in us as human beings, as sort of creatures who want to have some sort of morals and ethics. And I think morals and ethics is a demand of a species to survive, especially complicated ones. We might find ethics and morals of chimpanzees and lions primitive. They are primitive, but there's also a structure there that they're trying to operate within a structure. It's not like a beta male lion goes around and starts mating with the female lions of the pride. They don't. There's a structure there. Why? He could stand up and say, "Big brother, why I can't get some of it?" But he'd be like, "No, that's the structure, right?" So, and that's what we've done at a far advanced level. That we want to create a society that's best for everyone to the best of our ability. As I said, it's not perfect. Anyway, all right. I think we need to wrap
Left-wing
up.
politics do you not think have betrayed us, and now it's incumbent on us to support the right-wing politics of the world?
Well, I've said it numerous times, even in this case, the left-wingers wouldn't say anything. That, as I said at the start of the stream, that it's betraying the classical liberals, people who used to be called leftist. They're actually shifting so far that they've shifted the spectrum so much that if you were far leftist in the 70s, if you apply how far the scales have gone this time, you would be somewhere on the right in that spectrum. The classical liberal of the 70s, people who stood up for women's rights, people who stood up for LGBTQ rights. Obviously, LGBTQ is more modern, but they wouldn't have had a problem with that as well. And I think they didn't have a problem with homosexuals at that time either. Those far left-wing hippies of the time, and obviously towards racial equality as well. But what is happening? Because it's just an unsustainable woke culture that we're seeing. Is just unsustainable. It just cannot survive on its own. You cannot give free passes to other. And I think I understand the problem just the same way I don't talk about Hindu myths in Pakistan, because I don't want to cause. I don't want to say anything towards them because they're already suppressed a lot. But I would not support the Hinduism in Pakistan either. The Hinduism, I wouldn't. I would rather stay quiet, and I would support those from Hindu backgrounds in Pakistan to criticize Hinduism, but not. Again, we have to find the balance. So I mean, this left wing is just, this whole spectrum is haywire. I don't know where I sit.
because this group is starting to become like an echo chamber, or mind I say, not exactly to that definition, a sort of a monolithic way of thinking that, oh, if a person is a free thinker, they must vote left, they must be of the left-wing political ideology. This is not intellectually honest.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we could talk about it so much, but I think we need to wrap it up.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
for
very
taking
much.
my questions, and
No
keep up
worries.
the good work. You,
Yeah.
hopefully soon 100K, 500K, 1
Well,
million.
let's hope.
Soon the
100
world
million,
will
1
be.
billion. I'll be the first a YouTuber who'll have 1 billion subscribers.
Soon your work will
we'll
be
see.
everywhere. Soon
Well,
your
we'll
work.
see. Let's hope.
It's fantastic work. Fantastic
But
work. Take
I
care.
need the support.
And
I need the support of all of you
yes,
people.
yes.
Thank you very much. All right, guys. I think we should be wrapping it up soon. Babar Azam has made a 50. He's smashing it. That kid is one. Oh no, he's gone. Oh, Babar Azam's gone. Let me see how many did he get? He made 56. Last I looked, he was on 55, so he did get out. Okay, so I'll keep the stream going a little bit. All right, I've got God versus Google.
Hi, Haris. Good morning.
Good evening. Good morning. Yes, 12 is midnight here as well. Yes, what would you like to say?
So, human being here, I think my name has changed anyways. God versus Google human.
Yeah, that's
so,
your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So I have few funny comments and then I have one quick question. I know I won't stay longer time. There might be some people waiting for you on a queue. So
I'm just going to take one more call and then I'll wrap up. Yeah, go on.
Right. So there is rhyme for you and Galib, brother, that there is a rhyme. The Prophet Muhammad sat on a wall. Since Haris Ghalib came, Islam had a fall.
Oh, Humpty Dumpty said.
Yeah. And so second thing is that today is the 10th Muharram for Shia.
Right.
And
yeah.
And my ex-Shia from Iraq, I think I told you about him that he understands Arabic. He gave me the food his mom made for 10th Muharram. So being atheist, you can eat anything. So I encourage Muslim brothers to adopt atheism so they can eat anything. So I don't have any problem.
All right. All right.
Another thing, and she made really good, she made mince meat with the rice. That was delicious from Iraq, Middle Eastern style. So,
good.
And also what I have noticed in my whole life, I was in Tablighi Jamaat. It's a long story, but food and poetry make a major role for spreading Islam and being consistent, because every religious parties offer good food, so people get motivated. Even Jamaat Islami I've seen. So we should another thing, poetry makes a difference for Islam to spread, and food is very plays a vital role. You see a lot of festivals like Eid, Muharram. So I think atheists lack good food for inviting other people. Another thing, stories. Islam has a lot of stories which lies, mythology, which invite Muslims. So we should have stories, but again, we cannot have baseless stories. That's a problem with atheism.
Well, I think
So now, coming back to my point, today, yes.
No, go on.
Okay. So now coming back to today's discussion, I think today's most of discussion is about immigration, because it's English channel. So I think lots of Westerners also see this channel. So I have question about relevant topic for today's show. So I think I have experience of 10 years staying in America, and I was in Pakistan too. So I have noticed that Muslims immigrants do cherry picking. When they come to Western worlds, they do cherry picking. Like they choose dollars, good policing, but they opt out freedom of their daughters for marrying. So it's like they pick 5 things for their not for their benefits, for the ego. because of course in the end they should have benefits of freedom, but what happens, they try to satisfy their religious ego to choose few things in Western world, and they leave few things like Western values. So this is wrong. Why cherry picking is not beneficial for Western countries? In the end, Muslim will be controlling when they are in large numbers, which we have seen in Sweden. So please, I request Muslims, don't do cherry picking. Either you come to this country and adopt things, or don't come to this country. That's my, as an ex-Muslim, that's my mantra. What do you say?
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell people that's the flaw, but that's also a reason for success of the West, where you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to cherry pick. You're allowed to do practice, no matter how pathetic your beliefs are. You're allowed to believe in those things. That's and then at the same time you can take advantage of the scientific discoveries that would not have been made possible had they also believed in stories as pathetic as yours. That's the beauty of it. Unfortunately, I can't see anything out of it. We can't tell people that, okay, you come to countries like America, you take benefits, you enjoy the advantages of living in a Western country, but then you still have pathetic beliefs privately, and you won't allow your daughter to go hang out with her infidel friends, and that just causes friction amongst people. We just can't stop them, unfortunately. The only way, what we can do is just kill the source. Source is that ideology, and then we keep attacking that ideology. So if these older parents, they can't let go of Islam, but the children can. So we're seeing positive signs all over, and that shows that how shaky the foundations of mythologies are. We've just started attacking it. Mariam Namazi started 13 years ago, 14 years ago, 2007, I think she started, labeled ex-Muslim. And look, half the Iranians have left Islam. Arab countries, BBC studies, everywhere there's 10, 12, 15 percentage point increase in atheists in Arab countries. So, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is happening in Pakistan as well. That's the only thing we can do. We cannot do anything else. We cannot expect even the older generation to all of a sudden become liberals and say, hey, okay, my daughter is going out on a date with a white boy. They're never going to accept it. They're never going to approve of it. It's so funny. I spoke to my partner, years ago. I said, if I have a daughter, I'm not going to let her go on dates. I just said, this, it was just that. I said it. This is, again, a long time ago. Now I'm thinking like, yeah, honey, go. Go on a date. But just be responsible. I would say that to her. But we still have that, even though I was an atheist at that time, but, I still had these customs in me. And then I noticed, I try to justify that some white folks are overly protective of their daughters too. But then I didn't have the same attitude towards, if I had a son, I'd be like, yeah, son, go have fun. This kind of hypocrisy, even though you let go of religions, it can still survive in your mindset. And we know that some Greeks and Italians who've been living here for a long time, they're a bit more conservative than the Anglo-Saxon Australians. So I think it takes generations. But anyway, yeah, I think I've said a lot of inappropriate things today. All right, sir. Thank you very much for coming.
Michael, quick question, Haris. My question is left. So
yeah.
Donald Trump called me today, and he's my friend also. He said,
right.
Tell Harris, if he's given one-day presidentship of USA, what immigration policy he will do when people come to this country for Muslims. Or do you want to give some background? I asked the same question from Ghalib. Ghalib Kamal. Right. Again, let me spread my questions. You can answer me proper way, like what Donald Trump wants from you.
I think I got that. I think I got that. I got the point. I got to wrap it up as well. So yeah, I think I got that. Look, immigration policy. Obviously, I would never make a blanket law that or policy that ban all migration from Muslim countries and then pick only 10 or 11 countries and include Saudi Arabia in that and leave out Saudi Arabia and Pakistan from that ban list. I would never do that. So what I would say quite harshly, is that, look, there's only one group of people from all over the world. We're seeing that, and this doesn't include Malaysian and Indonesian Muslims. I don't think there's any Malaysian and Indonesian Muslims outside of those countries where they've been involved in any terror-related activities. So countries like Pakistan, Afghanistan, and some Middle Eastern countries, we've seen migrants, Muslim migrants, coming from these countries, and they've been involved in some activities that we don't want in our countries. So there will be strong vetting process. So I don't care whether you're coming as a doctor from Pakistan or you're coming as an engineer from Saudi Arabia. I don't care about that, but I will ask you some tough questions about your belief. Now, I know people can lie, but you and I, we both know if someone's pretending to be an atheist, it can be caught very easily. But what if you are a progressive Muslim? So you can't, make them criticize Muhammad on so and so things, but you can try to ask them very smartly crafted questions. And there's no guarantee they won't lie, but at least there's a strong message as well that this America is not going to put up with this nonsense. So I think that's what I'll do. But again, vetting process has to be exclusively made, tailor-made for Muslim migrants. Some people might say that's bigotry as well, and I get it. But unfortunately, when terrorist attacks happened using airplanes, the security had to be increased. And I'm walking with my white Australian partner at the airport. I'm the one who's pulled out of the line and say, oh, just a random security check. I don't mind that. I do, unfortunately, I do look like a Middle Eastern man who's who could be up to something scary. So I'm okay with that. Some people go, that's racial profiling, that's wrong, blah, blah. Unfortunately, we live in the world. If there was no 9/11, if there was no hijacking and none of these terrorist activities, I would have been fine. I would not have been pulled out. So these things unfortunately happen, and we cannot go around it. And this is if I was the president or the immigration minister, that's what I'd do. Strong vetting process for Muslim migrants. Anyway, thank you for coming.
Well, one quick point I want to leave, Haris. Otherwise, our question will be unanswered. Haris, quick point I want to leave. Can I say something quick?
Sure.
Okay, just last thing. We know the online forms when Muslims come to the country, they fill up the immigration form. Do you agree that if Donald Trump adds some verses, Quran verses like Christians and Jews cannot be your friend, don't kill, do you agree those verses or not?
No, you can't put that. You can't put that on forms. That's just too much. Just ask them, put them in an interview. When you give them a visa, you know that what process they go through. They go through such harsh processes, their employment history, their bank balances, and all of just add a couple of more questions at that point regarding their faith. That's it. At that point, ask them 5-6 questions about their faith. That in an interview. Nobody can go to America as a citizen on a visit visa from countries like these without these interviews. Just ask them at that point. Don't put them in forms. I think that is provoking them. They'll be like, the Muslims will be like, well, what if a form falls down? And then they pick up and they start kissing it. They'll be like, oh, this is insulting to Arabic.
Okay, I'll let you go. Thank you, Haris.
Anyway, thank you. All right, last call. Umar Sheikh.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Omar. Hey, how you doing?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call, Harris. I just want to talk briefly about the Kashmir issue. I know you've talked about it before. Just to give you a bit of background, my family, I live in the UK, but my family is of Indian Kashmir origin, and I have a Muslim background. I spent most of my life here in the UK, but I have visited Kashmir multiple times, and it's a beautiful place, beautiful estate, beautiful valley. But I think the situation happening right now is probably the worst I've ever seen in terms of how the Kashmiris are sort of under a lot of, in a way, oppression. Now, I know you have a big Hindu following, Indian Hindu following.
I don't care. I don't. You can say whatever you want. I don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah, no, but I think the problem is that many Kashmiri Muslims, Indian Kashmiri Muslims, they don't talk enough to other Indians, and I think we need to do that a lot more than what we are doing. I think the issue is people are motivated a lot by their self-interest. So I'm not going to really talk about how personally my family's been affected, but if you're really thinking about the security and the self-interest of India, then I think you should listen to someone who is who's.
I'm more than happy. Look, I have one of the guys who actually comes to the show quite regularly. He's an Indian Kashmiri, and he's actually on my WhatsApp too. He keeps sharing these news stories with me, and I've spoken about it plenty of times. I've always said it. My official position is I don't agree with any violence towards Kashmiris as people. I don't condone that. I think people have a right to choose their own future. I don't care whether 40% of the channels are Hindu Indians. I keep banging them. I'm not going to hold my tongue.
No, I think it's good that you have such a following, because the problem we have is that, and this is affecting the whole world, is that we have this type of anti-intellectualism where you have identity politics, and you have, and it's really easy. It's a big vote winner to have this black and white thing, or you have these labels. You have Kashmiri, you have Muslim, you have Hindu.
Yeah.
If for example, if I got into a car accident and I had a coma, and I had no memory of who I was, you could tell me I was Hindu, and I would not know any better. It's the same. We all have the same blood. If you go back 800 years to any Kashmiri, they would be practicing Hinduism, and in fact, there's a strong tradition of Sufism in Kashmir. I was shocked when I was a teenager when I went with my mother to a shrine, and we were actually praying towards the shrine. We were bowing down and kneeling down. And the problem that's there is because of this anti-intellectualism, this identity politics, the truth isn't coming out. And if we're talking about the self-interest and the security of India as a whole, we need to be really having these sort of conversations. So what I want to say is, I hear a lot of Indians saying that, why don't Kashmiris be more loyal to India? Why aren't Kashmiris, loving? And really, how can you expect that to happen if you don't place any trust in Kashmiris in the first place? Now, you can have an argument to say to reason how they passed Article 370, and there can be reasons to argue for that. But the manner it was done was terrible, because it was a complete media communication blackout, and that communication blackout continued for months. Now, that may have prevented maybe a riot or some protest, but the long-term effect was that there's 6 million people in Kashmir Valley, okay? 6 million people. All of those people, and there's a big diaspora, there's a big Kashmiri population that live in the rest of the world. None of those family members, we couldn't contact our family members in Kashmir for months. And that continued for about a few months. And then after that, what you have is Kashmiri democratic leaders in Kashmir, non-extremists, being locked up under house arrest. And Kashmir has a big tourist industry. It's already, prior to the lockdown, it was terrible. It's even worse now, but you have a persistent curfew there. And now you have a big jobless rate over there, and a lot of unemployed people. And what's happening is all these young people, they've got. I have a cousin there who was doing a philosophy degree in Malaysia. He had to come back because he quit because his parents made him do it. But he's got nothing to. Their family had a shop, but that shop is closed, and all he's doing is sitting at home, not doing anything. And the problem you have there is these young, intelligent people. They've got instead of doing something with their lives, they're going to go to a mosque, and they're going to go outside to a mosque, and they're going to be preached. And the preaching that's going in some of these mosques in the villages would alarm you. You would never hear it in a mosque in the West, but you'll hear it in maybe in these villages. And that should alarm people, because if you're thinking about the long-term security, if you don't care about Kashmiris, okay, fine, you can have that paradigm. It's easy to say, fine. Look at where Kashmir is. It's in between China and Pakistan. You've got 6 million people there. You need to start treating these people better, because instead of filling it, the easiest solution is to fill it with 1 million soldiers. Fine, you won't have any protests. but what's happening is you're growing a generation of discontented, young, intelligent people who are going to go into extremism, and that's filling it with soldiers is just a short-term solution. What it's going to do instead of what you could do, and what is the solution? Not what everybody's too lazy to say. What the Indian government is too lazy to do.
Right.
Make those 6 million people your allies. Make them your allies.
I get your point.
Yeah.
I get your point. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot to share. You can probably go on for another 15, 20 minutes. So now let me be, I'm not going to say the devil's advocate. Okay, I've said it. Let me be the devil's advocate. You know, I used to have a very one-sided narrative on that as well. Just hold the referendum, let people decide, and move on, and donate this prime real estate to Pakistan or let it be independent. Very unrealistic, right? What could happen, though? Pakistan also militarized that zone before 78, I believe it was. It wasn't as problematic as it is today, because Pakistan also had an agenda there. So yes, charging them, and yeah, people in Balochistan have been riled up against the state of Pakistan too, so it's tit for tat. But what is the solution, though? India is not willing to give it up so easily, so they have to have some sort of military presence there. And when they do have military presence, you know, some certain human rights abuses do take place. You know, and then I think there's no innocent party there either. The 6 million people that you talk about, there's so many. How many Hindu pundits were kicked out of there as well, and how many Hindu women were raped as well, and people were killed as well by the Muslim majority neighborhoods. I mean, again, I don't want to point fingers at anyone, but I don't think there's any reasonable solution here either, because unfortunately, Pakistan has also poisoned that region as well. Could have done far better way, but there might have been some arrogance from India as well initially. They could have spoken about these things. But again, why do we always start? No country is going to say, okay, we lost this big chunk of West India, which turned out to be Pakistan, and East India turned out to be Bangladesh, and now here have another. It's very difficult. You just can't. I think the only solution to that is, and again, this could be my optimism, I again think that the major difference between, if there is any difference between Kashmiris from the rest of India and why they're not loyal to the state of India, is the virus of Islam. I'm sorry to say that. That virus has divided subcontinent before, and Kashmir would not be the first and only, would not be the final solution. There are still 200 million Muslims in India. What is the guarantee that there would not be insurgency there? They would not be demanding another country then. This is just death of India. Why? How can India just roll over and die? I don't think it's that simple. So we just have to hope that there's development in Kashmir. Well, let's just hope that. That's the same way I hope that there's development in Balochistan. So people will be like, okay, they'll warm up to Pakistan state. Same like that. If there's development in Kashmir, Kashmiri people will warm up to the Indian state. Let's just say that's what number one part. That's what governments need to do. But the other part is, if we can just secularize people, if we can let go of this notion in their mind that we are different, we are God's favorite people, we are Muslims, we are different from these infidel Kafirs, that's why we need to have a separate country. Once we can kill that thought in the minds of these people, I think that's the only solution to the problem. I think it's unfair to ask India to keep breaking up. I think it's just never going to happen. I don't.
Can I just come back on that? I actually never mentioned about Kashmiri independence once. Yeah, I
know that. Yeah.
I think Kashmiri independence is a dream. It's nothing. We're talking about just recognizing Kashmiris as sort of Indians. I know it has to come from both sides, but you don't help the situation if you already treat the Kashmiris as a fifth column. And you can tell by how they did the article in the first place, how they managed it. You can, by that example, there's no trust. Yeah, we can't even talk. Let's be realistic. There's no hope ever of Kashmir ever being independent. How can it be? It's impossible. And I think most Kashmiris don't even believe that. I think Kashmir's their biggest fear at the moment is they think, I think it's unrealistic, but what they think they're going to be, they're going to be ethnically cleansed. They're going to be replaced by Hindus. I think that's, I don't think that's going to happen, but that's their big, they don't care about independence. And that's the issue here. And the problem is, I know that I'm intelligent to know that India government would never do that, because that's stupid. When you have China and when you have Pakistan on the border like that, you would never do that. But they don't, and they're not doing enough to reassure Kashmiris, and that's the problem. And I'll leave it at that.
Look. I mean, I understand, and I just don't think that we have any easy solution to that. This is why it's easier for me to say that I don't support any human rights abuses. But tell me a country that doesn't abuse human rights if there's a law and order problem, if there's a separatist movement. That is bound to happen.
Harris, look at what, there's a better way of doing it. Look at what, I'll give you an example. Look at the Iraq war. Look at how, you remember the Surge by General Petraeus. What he did there was, instead of doing this activity of just soldiers just, doing what they want, the target of that was to win hearts and minds, to win over the trust. You had local militia people. They were put in charge of certain projects. There was trust built. And that made a lot of differences.
I don't think it did. Did it really make a difference? Did it really make a lot of difference?
Well,
it was certainly better. It was certainly better than what it was before in the times of Zarqawi. Was that his name? It was certainly better. There was more anti-American sentiment there at that time, but it was certainly better than that. But was it still as good though? Was it still no claims of human rights abuses in Iraq even under General Petraeus? I reckon there were. I reckon there was still a lot of aggrieved parties there, because whenever you have a military somewhere, it's bound to happen. A general's responsibility are his soldiers. When they think that, okay, that person, that family in that seemingly harmless car, that could be a IED, they shoot at them. And that's what happens. Like, I've been seeing some footages of pellets being fired at some Kashmiri youth and whatnot. As I said, we can say that we are against that, we don't support that, but do we know any? And America is very advanced military in precision. I mean, some of these Indian border security forces, they just got lathis in their hands, So even they end up abusing human rights and having a lot of collateral damage. That's going to happen. So this is why I think the solution to me, in my case, is just slowly we just have to kill the virus of Islam. That's the only thing we can do. That's the solution, in my opinion.
That's not going to kill the virus if you make the population more and more uneducated. When you don't, religion tends to grow. More extreme forms of religion tends to grow in those areas.
Yeah, well, I agree, and I think what I last heard, and somebody corrected me on that the Indian government has been trying to put more and more money into it, but that also becomes harder when there's insurgency going on, because Pakistan has been trying to do the same in Balochistan as well, but then it becomes harder. Because there is insurgency there. They can't open new schools and build new highways, and they can't, it's a vicious circle. I'm sure Indian government would know that too, that, okay, we need to normalize, but how are we going to normalize it when there's insurgency going on?
I'll just leave it at this then. Just think about it. 6 million people, if you put the right investment in, that would be I think that's more realistic as your allies, as a defense against China. China is the real enemy.
I agree. Yeah. Look, I agree, but how? How are you going to do it? That's where we don't have any answers. I don't think you have the answers either. I admit we don't have the answer. How are they going to do it? It's very difficult. But let's leave it at that. Okay.
Thank you. See you later. Bye.
All right, folks. That was it, and I think I'm done for tonight. It's almost 3 hours. I've missed the glorious innings of Babar Azam, and Pakistan's doing really well. And this is a 19th over, 185 for 3. I think Pakistan's going to make 200 runs. Mohammad Hafiz is on 65 of 32 balls. Well done, Pakistan. Okay, boys, I think this is it. I'm done for today. And thank you very much for tuning in. I think at one point we hit about 600 people across both channels, Pakistan, Urdu and English. Until next time, Science Hafiz.